Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 82 for Sunday, the 29th of May, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing PlayStation boss Jim Ryan dumps a load of news all over the place. Has Sony learned from their past PS1 emulation mistakes? Are Capcom getting ready to reveal a Dragon's Dogma sequel? And Analogue finally break their silence about a long-awaited update to their Analogue OS.
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Focus Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Mike.
Hello, I want to play a game.
And Swinny.
Hello.
And Swinny, can you explain to our numerous audio-only listeners what's going on? Because they need to know this context.
Yes, we have a somebody wearing a very fancy... Oh my god, that's terrifying, Mike.
Really
that is
scary,
terrifying. Dude. A very crazy digital mask of sorts to the audio listeners.
It looks basically like a screen on Mike's face that he can just put whatever he wants on there.
Well, you had the low lights on before. Oh my god.
That's the one that's modeled on his face. So
hey, I'm breaking character.
If you are listening to the audio and you want to check out what it looks like, check out the description or go to bigweekpod.com. Swinny, hype. You're the hype man.
Yes, so we have the PlayStation State of Play, which coverage next week. So I believe it's June the 3rd, isn't it, technically?
Yeah, well, for us,
show?
It's Friday, June the 3rd.
Yes. So, unfortunately, given it's a work day, we may not be able to live stream.
I'll try.
If we can, we will. But there should be some cool announcements, I reckon, out of that one. So.
Well, I think it's all PSVR 2, if you didn't know.
Well, they said third party and PSVR 2. So, whether or not they're kind of... Yeah, so they said announcements from third party partners and PSVR 2. So
I'm really keen to stream it, and react to it. Because I feel like they're going to reveal when the PSVR 2 is going to come out. And I'm super hyped if it's going to be this year. But it feels like it's not going to be this year. It feels like it's much more likely it'll be next year.
Well, I mean, it would probably be this year if it wasn't for the chip shortage. I think that would have been...
Oh,
yeah. So...
Yeah, it's almost like, could it be like a negative PR, right? If they go live with it and people are like, I still can't even get a PS5. Why are you making another device? So...
Do you reckon some of the games are going to potentially make them adapt to, usable with the old PSVR stuff?
No, I get it. I think.
Do you reckon it will 100% have to be the new fancy VR2 handset things and stuff like that?
No, I think they've already confirmed. I'll double check it. I'm pretty sure they confirmed that all PSVR games are going to be playable on the VR2.
Oh no, I'm saying that the games they announced for the VR2 would be backwards playable on the older device.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. The PSVR 2 is a massive step up in terms of power and everything like that. It's more like a PS3 to PS4 Pro step up. If you actually look at the specs, it's gonna be up there as one of the better devices. Biggest things for me, it's and we'll get into it in the show, but I hope they support PC more with the PSVR 2. It's an instant buy for me if I can just plug it into my PC and use it for PC VR as well as PlayStation VR. That would be massive for me, so we'll see how it goes. And community. What's this little community tidbit?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the people still watching our Kemco tier list after all these months. It's
evergreen.
We crossed the 3,000 views mark, which... is insane for such a crazy shitpost of a 2-hour tier list. It was awesome. Crazy. And
fantastic.
The funny part is that we've also had people say, you guys didn't talk enough about the games. It's what do you want this to be, a 5-hour fucking tier list? And you're like, it's already 2 hours. We've covered 36 games. Come on, people. Sure, there's more stuff you can say about those games. You can, but, we just didn't have the time. We'd be there forever, so...
You said just the right amount.
Just for, stupidity's sake, it would be funny to do, a 12-hour stream on something like that. Just to go forever. I'd like to be the longest thing out there on it. I don't know. There's something I like about those extreme things. They always make me laugh.
Well, when we hit 10 years, 10-year anniversary on this podcast, then just think about that. Then maybe we'll consider a 12-hour Chemco marathon or something.
Coming up to 2 years very shortly. It's only a couple of months away. And you have a question.
Yeah, I just thought, I was thinking of it the other day. Obviously there's Easter eggs in gaming, but there's also very specific references that games these days often tend to make to memes and, popular culture. So my question to you guys is, do you actually hate or you're okay when games actually drop references to memes in them? What's your take on that?
What do you think, Mike?
I'm okay with it. So I've been playing Underhero, a little bit of a sneak preview of one I played in this week.
Oh, I don't think we've ever talked about that on the show.
No, we did. Is that sarcasm?
I don't know. What do you mean?
No, we did. We talked about Underhero.
Did we?
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Swinny did a review on it. Yeah. For once, I actually remember. Yeah. I know.
No, we had, before you joined, Mike, we had a bit of I said, do you reckon Mike will remember I talked about Underhero?
Yeah.
And I said zero chance.
Like, zero chance.
Emphatically
you
zero.
lose.
I was like, zero chance emphatically.
I didn't review it, but I basically reviewed it across 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it was okay. So I'm just gonna go less to victim of kidnapping. Just give me a sec.
Wait, okay.
Yo.
You got to remember, people are listening in audio. A lot of people listen. All right, I'll jump into what your question is.
Just based on audio, right? So, with Underhero, there's a lot of
why are you jumping into
stuff.
Underhero?
No, I'm just because I'm using it as an example of a game that's really good like that. Yeah, because it's got a lot of funny sort of fourth wall breaking stuff, a bit of real world stuff, parody of other RPGs. And I love that stuff in moderation because I think it can get too much. But if it's done really clever, really smart, I think it's pretty cool. It's funny.
Yeah, I'm normally like, you have to use it very judiciously. How do you say that word?
Judiciously?
Judiciously, yeah.
Just move on.
No, he doesn't know how to say it either. And I do find that sometimes it's a bit overplayed. My kids were watching Sonic. By the way, kids under 5 or under 7, Sonic is like the god and Mario is nothing. They hate Mario.
Dude, I said that the other week. Like, Sonic is just
true,
like crazy over.
I was at the show, remember, and I sent you the photo. The only show bag that was sold out was the Sonic show bag. Out of everything, Assassin's Creed wasn't sold out.
Look, okay, can I just park that for 1 second?
Yeah.
An Assassin's Creed show bag. Show bags are things for kids, right?
Know, it's
Come on.
so weird.
Yeah.
It is. Like, we had those, they cancelled those Assassin's Creed, like, Mr. Book, kids' books things, right? Because
they cancelled them. I was going to buy them for you.
How fucked is it that, like, I'm an Assassin's Creed fan, look at my fucking hat, right?
Nice hat.
It is a game where you go around viciously murdering
You're
people.
an assassin.
It is fucking bullshit that there's show bags made for kids.
We need a GTA show bag.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, that would sell better than the Assassin's Creed, to be fair. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, Sonic, and then there's a reference, you know, the Sonax meme, where it's like the poorly drawn Sonic thing.
Yeah.
So they show that in the movie, and then there's like some other meme references in Sonic 2 as well. I'm like, it's so like fleeting, and like they don't make a big haha, see what we did here, see how cool we are. Which I'm fine with, like, as long as you sort of do that.
Oh my God, Mike's here.
Mike's taking his...
Finally taking his...
I didn't actually think, how do you see through that thing? Is it like... Oh, we can't hear you, Mike. This is like...
Sorry, it's got little holes that are really hard to
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's got 2 little slits, which is why when you switch it to a particular thing...
Oh, it's actually got a gap
up
there.
here, there's a gap so you can see through, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you can put text, you can animate it, you can... I don't know.
I thought you were going to leave it on the whole show.
Podcast.
Yeah, put it on for the whole show.
Dude, you know how hot it is? Oh my God.
All right, let's jump into what we've been playing.
Okay, so I'm back. Oh, this looks stupid now.
Well, okay, Swinny, very quickly, what do you think about your own question?
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's
what do you
fine.
think of your own
Just
question,
skip
Swin?
right past me.
No, because I was waiting for you to jump in to say what you thought, but you're just taking forever.
I didn't know you'd finished. I was waiting for you to throw the button. Anyway, no, I was just going to say, look, I think it really depends. if a game decided to like rickroll me in its game that always was already breaking fourth wall, I would laugh at that.
Yeah.
If a game's gonna show like a troll face, and I'm like, it's kind of like it really depends on the content.
It depends.
Yeah.
It's not a simple yes or no. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, Mike, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so a little bit more of Days Gone, and by a little bit more was probably the primary game that I've been playing.
Have you clocked it yet?
No, I haven't clocked it. It's really interesting because it's unlike Assassin's Creed or something where you get a big open world map and you can just go to pretty much any place you want to go to. And there's a whole bunch of different things you can do, and there's all these side quests that you get overloaded with. In this one, at most, you kind of get 2 or 3 side quests, and you need to complete the main mission to get anything else.
Oh.
So it never feels like you're sort of going, oh shit, I got to go to do something else here.
There's not as many
or,
fetch quest kind of crap.
No, definitely not, which is really cool.
Is it really an open world game then? Like, isn't that kind of like a...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it kind of is and it isn't. I mean, you're still free to go around and explore certain areas. It is locked, so the map has a limitation, so it stops you from going to another area right off the bat.
Yeah, okay.
But within the limitations that you get, you can still go and, go to a camp before you're supposed to clear it out and stuff like that. So, and I'm loving it, man. Like I said last week, I highly recommend it. It's a really underrated game in my opinion. I'm into, zombie and survival kind of games anyway, and open world, and it's perfect. It's a perfect mix of all those things. And I finally got to a horde that even with upgraded stuff, I'm stuck. I can't do it.
Wow.
So I have to go back to it later. It's really cool. Just seeing the animation of all the zombies and the way they flow. It's not quite as epic as what I remember seeing in the preview of the game before it came out when they showcased it. It doesn't feel quite that way, but it's really cool. It's really, really cool. So I highly recommend
Did
it.
they ever explain why he's riding a motorbike, given... Wouldn't that completely alert zombies all the time?
Well, it does. It does.
But that seems so
I
dumb.
know. You can get silences for your thing, which reduces the amount of noise you make and stuff. And the game actually...
Or you could drive a Tesla and then...
Or you could drive a Tesla, yeah. Well, okay, let's ignore the fact
Not quite
that...
as cool.
Just drive into the horde and make the battery explode on them.
Yeah, exactly. Put the self-driving feature on, it'll kill everyone.
Beep, beep. Press the zombie mode on. Yeah, let's completely ignore the fact that petrol has a shelf life. Although technically the game, I think, is only set 2 years or something after the start of the game, when I think the events started to happen. So, it's still within a reasonable amount of time where petrol's still valid. But that's one thing about zombie games or movies and stuff that I never get. They're like 10 years after the fact, and they're still, using petrol and shit like it's perfectly fine. My lawnmower doesn't work with petrol that's more than 2 years old. It just doesn't work properly.
But that's not petrol, that's like 2-stroke though, but yeah.
No, it still uses 91. So
really,
it's a 4-stroke. It's a 4-stroke.
Oh wow,
yeah, it's a 4-stroke with normal petrol. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it's crazy, and it wasn't working at the start, and because it belongs to my girlfriend's dad. It's gone, and we didn't know why. We thought, oh, maybe it's screwed up or it's got some other issues. I got to fix all this shit, and then I'm like, hang on a minute, why don't I just change the petrol? Because her dad never did. Like, he had a can from about, honestly, 7 or 8 years ago that he's been using the same shit. Anyway, so yeah, good game. Back to Days Gone. Highly recommend it. Very cool.
Nice.
The other thing that I've been playing is a game that we have reviewed, as we were joking around earlier. In the past, if you could call it a review, we definitely covered it, and it's called Underhero. So I grabbed it on Switch because I feel like it's a perfect platform for this kind of game. And you're right, Swinny. Really cool humor. I'm digging the combat. It hasn't quite completely 100% clicked with me just yet, but I actually really love the novel approach. It's completely different to a lot of games that I played. I mean, I know you dealt more with the Paper Mario style, I forget what you call it, type of combat, but to me, yeah, it was a breath of fresh air. And whilst I admit the platforming and the actual world feels a little I don't know how to describe it, undercooked in some ways.
Yeah.
At the same time, it has its own kind of little charm. It kind of feels like a game that was made in Game Maker, if that makes sense. But it's really cool, and the humor is so good that alone is actually driving me to keep playing the game, because I just want to hear more stuff that they joke around. It's really good.
Yeah, and the good thing as well is that like they play the long game with a lot of those jokes. So a lot of them are like running jokes across the whole game, and they pay off. Something that you set up is paid off really late in the game, so it's really cool. So
Okay.
Next up on the list, I dabbled a little bit in Sniper Elite 5, which just came out, and I know, Swinny, you played a bit of it as well.
Yep.
I don't know how far you got into it. I was sort of mostly doing the first mission. It's a solid game. It reminds me so much of the original ones. Same combat type, same X-ray vision, bullet stuff.
The reason why there's no B-roll, it's so gratuitous.
Basically, it's super. Yeah, it's really, really bad.
Yeah.
But it's a solid game. I think anyone who's into the series worth playing. I think anyone who isn't into it and wants to have a solid third-person shooter type of game, yeah, it's a really good, solid game. If you have Game Pass, give it a go.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, go on, Swinny.
No, I was to say, like, it's made by Rebellion, and they're just really solid developers, and I think that it looks great. It runs really good. I was playing on Series X, and I assume it probably runs the same on the other platforms as well. But it's just a really well made game that I only played like the first mission area as well. But it's the kind of game that I think you just have a blast with if you're into those kind of third person games. So.
I wonder like the sales of this game because you just had such a drought of AAA games, and it's like decently made, decently reviewed, not great or anything, but people just like, there are people who are out there, hey, I want to get a new game. I'm kind of bored, what's the latest thing that's come there? But the people, the publishers must be so happy with the current like window that they're selling into. Like I'd love to see the sales of this game. It's perfect timing. And what else, Mike? You don't have any microphone again.
Of course. Sorry, I was taking my mask off to everyone listening on the actual audio part. Sometimes I forget that we have the audio bit.
Yeah, I think there's more people that listen on audio, but yeah, go on.
Well, you wouldn't have been able to hear it on bloody video either.
That's true. No, that's a good point. I know. Yeah. So the other game that I played a little bit of, and I say a little bit not because I didn't like it or anything, but because I realized I could really get into this game. So I had to put it down to go, I need to give it justice and actually play it when I have some proper time, is Dragon's Dogma. Now, we did say that we're going to also do a segment, so that's coming up too, because it's a 10-year anniversary, so we'll go into more detail. I'm really looking forward to it. So just from playing the beginning of the game and just the way it feels and everything, really digging it. It feels like it's one of those games that I wish I picked it up a while ago. For some reason I didn't. I've seen it on special before. It looked cool. I just always went, it's not The Witch or anything. I got too many RPGs or whatever. But yeah, really, really cool. Seems to be pretty solid at 30 on the Switch. And from what I'm hearing, a lot of people are kind of comparing it to Monster Hunter, as in like a precursor to the latest kind of Monster Hunter games.
We will be talking about Dragon's Dogma later, cool. Let's maybe cover them.
Save it for then. So you might even quite like it, I think, Integot, because I know obviously you're a big fan of Monster Hunter. So, and some cool mechanics from what I've seen so far. And we'll talk about it hopefully in a bit. And the last one is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I think you were playing as well, Integot.
Yeah, haven't got a chance to play it again this week, but where you're up to, you're probably further than me.
Well, without spoiling anything, a watermill?
I think, you're further.
Yeah, opening up a watermill? Okay, I can't say anything else.
Okay.
But
yeah, I don't recall that. I'm bad. You know how bad I am with remembering these things.
Yeah. Well, I'm way past the double jump. When I get hey, double jump.
That is the
so
milestone
cool.
Mike remembers all the time.
It is.
When did I get the double jump? How early?
Well, so people who may not be avid listeners won't know that I am big into Metroidvania kind of games, and I feel like a double jump is a quintessential element. I just love the feeling. I love the mechanic in every single game, and I love unlocking it because I know most of the games don't have it, and I just love when it's unlocked.
Most of the games don't have a double jump. I think that's
most
not,
probably don't actually.
I don't think that's the correct statement.
Actually, maybe most
I think
don't. You're right.
almost all Metroidvanias have a double jump.
Actually, yeah, probably.
You should start a website.
Into this now. I think I need to start a website.
Can you start a website just like
doesn't have a double jump?
Yeah, it doesn't have a double jump.
Well,
just a list of games.
I did start a draft of a list of games for a Metroidvania tier list we talked about ages ago, so maybe we can start adding that to that list.
Actually, Elden Ring does it have a double jump? Yes.
Yes, technically it does.
No, not technically, it does.
Well, it does, but it's...
You just have to be riding a horse to do it.
You have to do a
torrent.
Exactly.
Or a horse thing.
But yeah, look,
horse-like creature.
Yeah, what is it? It looks more like a yak.
It's a tyrant.
Yeah, but it looks like a yak.
Come on, let's go.
A yak horse. Anyway,
It's
so,
a new. It's a new.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
All right, Integot, what have you been playing?
Over to you. What have you been playing?
So I've been playing Splatoon 2's, not this, copy paste. Splatoon 2's Octo expansion. And I think there's a theme of my games that I've been playing this week. It's just games that I've slept on or DLC that I've slept on. I played a tiny bit of this Octo expansion. So it's essentially DLC for Splatoon 2. It's now free as a part of the subscription to Nintendo Online's expansion pass. So if you have Splatoon 2. So Swinny, you've got Splatoon 2 from memory. I think you can play this now if you have the expansion pass.
I do not own Splatoon 2.
Oh, we must have played like a demo weekend or something like that. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, and like I only played a little bit of it and it didn't click with me immediately because I don't give anything any time. But I'm like, okay, I want to get back into this. I want to finish this before Splatoon 3 comes out. And man, it's super awesome. It's friggin' hard. Like Nintendo DLC, it's like low-key difficult. Like the Fire Emblem DLC is ridiculous. And then this DLC, there's like literally some levels I had to skip because I'm like, I'm freaking playing them over and over and over again. And it's so precise. I think you'd actually like it, Mike. Like the shooting mechanic is super precise.
I don't know.
The footage that's on the screen,
hard.
the footage on the screen at the moment kind of gives me, I know it's different, but it kind of gives me Astro vibes.
Yeah.
In terms of like the kind of the way you go through the levels.
What I really like about the DLC is, so with the single player, it's definitely better than Splatoon 1 single player in my opinion. It's more of an actual game. The first game, it's single player. It was almost like just a tutorial for the weapons and, like a bit of story, whereas Splatoon 2 expanded on this, but this takes it to a totally different level. It's, very Mario-esque, Nintendo-esque of, you have all these different mechanics and then they play around with it in each of the levels. There's like 80 levels and they're very challenging. Like some are pretty straightforward, but it's quite clever, some of them. Like some of them, it's almost like you're playing pinball using the mechanics of the game. This is just like one example that you're seeing on the B-roll now of like the splatter ball, I think it's called. But when you see different levels, it's completely different. Some of them it's like an on-rails shooter, effectively, because you're on rails, you're like shooting stuff. Some of those ones are so tricky because you have to be super precise. Like you have one shot for each thing. So you just like bang, you have to hit it each time with like a sniper rifle. It's super cool. So I clocked this Octo expansion, adding to my tally. I'm treating the DLCs as half games. That's my system, Swinny. I don't know.
Cool.
I make up the rules so I can do whatever I want.
I think that's a fair rule.
The other thing is I finally got my hands on one of these suckers.
Ooh, yes, you
Actually,
both did.
two of these
By the way,
suckers.
They're making fun of me, right? They're
can't beat
making
that.
fun of me that we're mostly an audio podcast, and they're showing shit on screen that no one knows what it's about. Both of them. They're talking about the N64 controller that you can get
for the Switch.
For the Switch. Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Oh no, the sneezy ran again. Yeah.
Whoa, this is our official proper.
Oh my god, I'm losing it.
controllers.
I'm losing it, people.
Gesundheit. Oh, you're getting it again. Damn.
So
I just have to
got
hold 5 64 controllers up just to beat your 2.
so I didn't get these when they first released them. I thought, they've got the Nintendo controllers still available, and then they sold out like pretty much straight away, and I was like, a bit of FOMO. And then they added all those features into Mario 64 in that collection, Swinny, where you can use the 64 controller to play Mario 64. And I'm like, I just have to have it now. Like I have to get it. So
Especially with the camera control. Like,
it just doesn't feel. It never felt right. So the other thing I've been playing this week was they have a demo for Mario Strikers. So you'd be happy with this, Mike. So they're going to have some online tests, as Nintendo normally does with these multiplayer games. So this is for Mario Strikers Battle League, and it's released on the 10th of June. So it's one of the few games that's actually coming out probably of note. Couple of things, like Mario sports games always feel very light these days. Like they just feel very unfleshed out, and they build the content through like a year and a half of updates. And I'm just not a fan of how they're doing this.
Well, especially considering Nintendo's being very spotty with what games they do and don't update. Like a game like Super Mario Party. Was it Super Mario Party?
That was the worst of all. Yeah, the first Mario Party on the Switch. Yeah.
That's a game that people are like, oh no, they're going to update this, and it didn't look. Sure, it got the online multiplayer, but
that was like 2 years after it came out.
Yeah,
and just because the next game was coming out, I think it was almost like a PR move that they did that, because that was like one of the backstory is you couldn't play online Mario Party, and it was like in the pandemic or like just before it, so it's like one of the great games you could potentially play, right? So with this game, one thing is, man, the mechanics are like very crazy in this game, right? Like I can't really recall the GameCube or Wii games like in this series, so that's where the Mario Striker series is from. But you have heaps of like weird mechanics in this, like shot canceling. So not only can you like try to take shots, you can actually cancel out of your shots. There's like dodging, tripping, tackling, like all this other kind of stuff, but like lots of nuances on all of them. But having said all of that, just playing around with it a bit, going through the tutorials, I just don't think there's going to be enough there. Like, it's just one of those games I just think I'm going to skip. And it's kind of a shame. I feel like if they put a little bit more love into these sports titles, I'm like on the borderline of like, I'd probably get most of them. But just because they're sort of like, they don't have enough love in these games, I just, I don't know. This is not quite for me. So
can we confirm that like the demo gives you full visibility on what modes there are and everything in it?
So the features, but the modes have been announced.
Okay.
And it's like, there's some cool stuff, but it's not... You can see with even the more expanded previews that the media agencies have had, there's not... It's like a very classic... It's super obvious. It's a classic Nintendo move now that they're doing with these sports titles, where it's pretty... relatively bare bones, like from the start, and whether it will actually expand out. But one game that I do love, and another one that I have been sleeping on, is Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. Just a simple title that rolls. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the lack of popularity in this game, having like a title that's so long. I don't know if that's ever going to resolve, because it's sort of like, oh, there we go. Look at that. Like, it goes the whole length of the thing.
Oh my god! I appreciate
That's
you.
awesome.
I appreciate you putting the whole thing in our run sheet. That's.
I know you'd like that.
I also appreciate that you showed people a case in a video. No one knows what the hell you just did. He showed us the Nintendo Switch case, and it's so literally awesome. The full length of the case.
Yeah, the spine, it has the title, and they've made the font a bit tighter, and it still just barely fits in. This game, I also played this for like 10 minutes when I first got it as a gift, and I'm like, okay, it just doesn't really click with me totally, even though I love like rhythm games and things like that. And because I went on a holiday, I could only bring my Switch. Sorry guys, I could only bring my Switch, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just play this game. And dude, like, I fucking love this game. This game is awesome. Like, I also have Crypt of the Necrodancer, and I do like it a lot, but obviously I gotta be real, like, putting the Zelda IP over it, it's just awesome. Like, and it's like a traditional Zelda. It's kind of crazy how they've done it. It's more Crypt of the Necrodancer, but you would love this, Swinny. It's like at one point I get, and not to spoil it too much, but you get like a hook shot, and then it expands out the rest of the game and stuff. I'm like, this is like sick. And I'll just say straight up, I'd rarely recommend games for you, Swinny, but I would definitely look at getting this game when it goes on sale. At least it's, just looking at Deku deals, it's gone as low as like $26. To me, that's a freaking steal at $26, man.
Sorry, this B-roll, it's an YouTube clip. I just want the guy to get the bloody chest.
I know,
I've been watching him go around and fall off all the bloody time.
I know.
Was that your gameplay? Was that?
Yeah, this is my gameplay.
I was going to ask
that was you.
No, it's not me, you idiot.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, he even got an F on the screen for it.
So it's an awesome game. Like, just so if you don't know what Crypt of the Necrodancer is, essentially it's a rhythm game where you can only move when it's to the beat of the song. And it's also the same as attacking. So any moveset has to be to the beat of the song. And the enemies will move in a rhythm as well to the beat of the song. So for me, it's like very much reminiscent of a hybrid, I'd say, of kind of like, the Oracles game / Link to the Past in terms of visual style. Maybe Minish Cap as well a little bit. And just like an awesome rhythm game, and the music. It's just, like I love this game, man. I'm like really champing at the bit to like go back and play it more, like and have time to play it. But like I said, I really recommend. Like I think even with you, Mike, it'd be interesting to see how much you'd like Crypto the Necrodancer.
I have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I haven't played it more than like about 2 minutes. But
give it like an hour's worth of gameplay, because it's like it's one of those games. Once it starts clicking, it's like okay, this is kind of fun, and it's kind of like a cool dynamic. So highly recommend this game. I'm definitely gonna clock this game. And Swinny, what have you been playing?
Clock.
Hey, we're bringing
yes.
it back, baby.
What? Have you
First of
clocked
all-
anything this week?
First of all, alongside my 64 controller, I also got myself packs of playing cards.
Oh,
off the
I have the
my
Mario
Nintendo
one.
Switch.
I have the
Cool.
Mario one.
So
Go.
very expensive for what they are, and the kind of things you look at and you're like, I don't know if I ever want to use these.
Yeah, are we ever going to use them, or are they just for collecting?
I don't know, but they look good. At least it's a clear case, so at least you can kind of look at them. But anyway. It's
Oh, you
one
got
of
some
those-
too.
Yeah.
I didn't get the
Bloody
Zelda ones because I
nerds.
thought they didn't look as good.
What am I doing wasting money on,
Hey, it's got-
on these masks when
got
I could just
ting-
be buying this
It's got
instead?
Tingle on the background. Okay? He's
What's
a joker,
cool?
that's
So,
good.
like for people if they clueless of what we're talking about again, Nintendo Australia has finally opened a Nintendo store, but the cool thing is they fill it with a lot of Japanese stuff that the American store doesn't get. So I actually love that. Like I want them to do more of that shit.
All right, in terms of games I've been playing, so right after the show last week, I said, you know, we finished the show pretty late, and I'm like, I'm going to sit down, I'm just going to kind of just play a game, and I found a game that I didn't know existed that had come out like 2 weeks ago, and I just bought it, and let's just say I stayed up for quite a bit longer than, than
What time?
after
What
the
time
show
did you go to
last
sleep?
week. I don't know, probably like 2:30, 3
Oh, yeah,
o'clock.
fair enough.
It's kind of yes, Mike, you will not shop. You will not shop after buying that mask. So what is this game? This game is called PictoQuest. And what is it? It's a bloody Picross RPG. And I'm like, I didn't even know this game existed. Now, it's not a brand new game for other platforms.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
It's-
say.
Yeah, but I didn't
Okay.
know, first of all, this game existed.
Oh,
and plus,
really?
It had
Oh,
just
shit.
got an Xbox release. And from what I can tell, because I swear I would have known it otherwise, I think it's actually the first Picross style game that's actually ever been released on an Xbox platform.
No.
Yeah, I think it is. So
Really?
the Switch is
I
obviously
could have
got all
cornered
that
the
stuff.
market.
Yeah. So, but that's maybe there's something I haven't seen before in that's been released in maybe the last like 12 months or something. But I swear I would have known otherwise. So, anyway, PictoQuest is it is a Picross game through and through with some light RPG elements, but even then it's like it's more the fact that they put it in like the trappings of an RPG and that you're a hero going a quest. Because basically, when we say RPG mechanics, it's more like okay, you've got HP and you've got enemies that have like attack skill and they attack you as you play through. But honestly, I quite liked it. The game is actually, if you're a veteran of Picross games, and for anyone who doesn't know Picross games, there are sometimes called nonograms or paint by numbers, where you basically got a grid with the numbers on the ends. And they give you clues which, things you need to knock out or put X's on. And it's for a Picross veteran or vets, this game will be so easy for you. And the problem is it's so short as well.
That's why I never picked it up. So I own so many Picross games on the
Yeah.
Switch. It's sad. It's like I think like 8 or 9 Picross games I've got. And this is one of the few that I didn't buy actually. I thought you knew about this, but
No, I didn't know
yeah,
about this.
it's just way too easy, the puzzles. It's like ridiculously easy.
There's a few at the end where they get to the 20 by 20 or
Sure.
whatever that are a little tougher, or not 20, it's like 25 by 20 or whatever. But I think that the problem is also they repeat puzzles in the game.
Yeah.
So because they'll have certain things where they go, okay, you've got X amount of time, or redo this puzzle without making a mistake. So they've got some nice twists and turns, but look, I think if it's under $5 or maybe the $5 price point makes sense for this game, I think more than that, you're better off buying any other Picross game.
How much was it on Xbox?
I can't remember off the top of my head. So
because the lowest it's ever been on Switch is like $7. PS4 is like $12. So
yeah. So look, it wouldn't surprise me if I spent like $12, $13 on it.
Yeah.
I saw it and I'm like, I'm buying this right away. It was like a purchase.
I'm just shocked that
purchase.
this may be, I need to write down the episode number. This might be the one game I've heard of and know about that you didn't know about. That's amazing to me.
Probably, yeah.
It's an RPG as well.
That.
This is a record.
And
for
it's
the
an
show.
RPG too, yeah.
Well,
This
that's
is
the thing.
definitely the first time I heard
That's
that.
the thing is it isn't an RPG, but
Is
it's
it
got
classified
RPG track.
as
It's got
TA?
RPG trappings. I don't know. It's not, and I would vote
okay.
against it as well. So,
I would vote against it because I know about this game. It's not an
Yeah.
RPG, but yeah.
Nah. So the next game I've been playing, which starting my trio of Game Pass games this week, is a game I was looking forward to quite a bit called Little Witch in the Woods. So this game is a game preview game. It's from a South Korean studio called Sunny Side Up. Like, I've had my eye on it for a while when I saw it, it's been like in preview footage for a while, just because I just really liked the look of the game. It's got really nice pixel
It looks
art.
sick.
It looks
just
great.
like-
The art style's awesome.
yeah.
Really good.
And the game is basically like you play, as a like witch's apprentice, and the game is basically like a crafting, potion making sim where you go around town completing quests, gathering materials, and exploring and stuff. It's not really an action game or anything, but honestly, I'm not a big fan so far. And I think look, this is a game preview game, and I toyed with the idea of whether or not I want to actually cover those games as part of my resolution. Now, I did the Anacrusis, I've done Unsold, and this one. And the reason why, it's just this game feels really unfinished. It literally is unfinished. Like, you can't... The chapters aren't all there yet. And the problem is as well that this game, in the first 10 minutes of the game, is just nothing but dialogue for 10 minutes. And it's honestly very inane. It's not interesting at all. I don't... get me to gameplay. And I think I've watched other reviews of it as well, and everyone has the same thing. It's just like, it takes too long to get into it. It puts you off, and then your character generally moves so slow. Like in the footage at the moment, that's the character running.
Whoa.
And it's like, and there's no fast travel in this game either. So, but then, look, there is some good stuff. Like, as I said, the sprite art is great. The characters, their faces they make and everything are really adorable, really, really nice. And you go around, you actually have to sketch items into your encyclopedia,
Cool.
which is pretty cool. And it's got some neat mechanics, but honestly, this is one I really think you should wait for it to hit full release. So,
Can I just say, this reminds me of a project where you're pulling your weight, so like the art department, and then the rest of the programmers and everything. And you're like, fuck, look how awesome this fucking looks, man. Like, do I have to do everything in this goddamn project? But,
there's some, from a gameplay standpoint, there's some cool stuff here, but I just think it's incomplete.
Yeah. Okay.
And the next one is a game by the name of Jurassic World Evolution 2.
I want to hear about this one.
Yeah, so I'd heard about the first game. Basically this is like Jurassic World cross with SimCity, a sim game in a lot of ways. But I'd never played the original, so this was a fresh experience to me to go into this. And honestly, this game is fantastic.
Really?
I think it's an awesome game. What I've played
Tell me
so
more.
far. So it's, with sim games, when you move that stuff to a controller, often that stuff is
Horrible. Yeah.
well, look, there's games like SimCity on the SNES that work around it because it's built from the ground up, right? This feels like it's actually, they went in from the ground up and said, okay, we're going to make this work on both a mouse and keyboard and controller, because the interface in the UI is all fantastic and it feels really great. And just so far, like what I've played, the game looks awesome. Like you zoom up closer to details and it looks great. You zoom out and it obviously looks nice as well. And the fact that like the tutorial they have, tutorials are so important in this kind of game. I think it's fantastic, and it's even got a fake Chris Pratt voice switch, which actually I liked. It made me laugh. So it's like the Chris Pratt character from Jurassic World, but it's not him.
Oh, like a
voicing it,
sound-alike.
Yeah, like a sound-alike. Well, I say sound-alike, it sounds nothing like Chris Pratt, but whatever. Anyway,
Okay, interesting.
but yeah, I think this is a really, really good game. I'm actually hoping to get back to it at some point because it just feels so well made. And if you haven't played a sim game in a while, I think this is probably a great place to jump in, and it's on Game Pass,
Nice
so you can
recommendation.
try it out. And the last game I played is one that I've been looking forward to talking about for a while, and was so happy when they announced it was going to Game Pass. And I'm going to butcher the name of it, but Umurangi Generation, specifically the special edition, the fancy version. So what is this game? Now, this game did have buzz when it came out in 2020. Just got ported to Xbox, and that's what, and added to Game Pass. But I've been wanting to try it for a while. This is actually from a solo New Zealand developer.
Oh, cool.
And the whole time I was heard about this game, I had just assumed the title was a Japanese name or something, because I didn't even click. It's actually a Maori word.
You racist.
And this game is actually set in New Zealand in
Cool.
I'm probably going to say Tauranga, is it? It's Tauranga is a city in New Zealand. That's probably saying that horribly, but Joe Jives is probably going to be cursing at me throughout this whole segment.
True. You're going to have your cuz after you.
I don't think that city has those kind of buildings in it, but okay.
This is in the near future.
Right, okay, right.
The near future, 1,000 years.
But what is the actual game? So this game is basically a photography sim mixed with a Tony Hawk style point system and objective system. So basically you're put into a level and it says, hey, go photograph these different things. And then as a bonus, you can get these things. And if you do it in a certain amount of time, you get a bonus and you get money for each photo you take. And at the end of the level, you get a score. And then, you can obviously work to better that score and stuff. But what's really cool is this game, you've got games like Pokemon Snap where they're obviously very, it's not trying to replicate anything about real photography in any way. Whereas this game, actually, they give you different lenses, like wide angle lenses.
Yeah, I saw that.
Awesome.
Different, it tries to actually replicate a DSLR camera, which is really, really cool. And a lot of that's because the developer, Naftali Faulkner, they're inspired to make the gameplay after showing their cousin how to use a DSLR camera.
Cool.
And they made this game in 10 months, and it's basically, as I said, set in a near future city where aliens have invaded and the government's trying to protect the cities. But it's actually, the subtext is about colonization and everything like that. So it's got a really cool themes to it and what it's trying to actually talk about. And some of that is it's based on the concept of what's called respectful design, something that I've just kind of learnt about, which is creating art that values inclusivity, culture, and using responsible creative methods to talk about the cultures and everything. And the world, a lot of it's also was, they made this game as a bit of a response to how the Australian government handled the bushfires and everything like that. So it's very relevant, obviously, to our interests and where we are. And I think this is a really cool game. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's also it's a nice game you can pick up and you can play through for a few hours. It's not very long. You can spend a bit more time in the creative mode and everything. But I think it's really neat. It's got just a cool vibe to it and a really banging soundtrack that's a mix of...
Awesome.
It's a mix of almost drum and bass, synth wave, and trip hop. It's a really cool soundtrack.
So it took this guy 10 months to make this whole thing by himself.
10 months to make the game.
Dude, that is so impressive. I mean, think about what have I done in the last 10 months?
Well, you had a resolution to make a game.
Compared to this is insane. This is amazing.
He would have completed your resolution in that year that you made it last year.
Easy, and then some. I know.
I made
This
a
is
baby
amazing.
in
Very
the
cool. I
period
gotta
of
play
10
this.
months, so that's pretty good.
I mean, that's something. You
Made
put
live.
effort in for
Made
about a
live.
minute. So
90 seconds at least, buddy.
90 seconds. Okay, whatever. Close.
But they were good 90 seconds.
Damn right.
All right, that's all you've been playing, Swinny?
Yep, that's enough.
I always forget. Are you going to try to play every single Game Pass game that's available?
Added to Game Pass in 2022.
How long do you reckon it would take to try to catch up to everything that's available?
I'm not trying to play everything that's available in Game Pass.
I just think it'd be a cool video.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be
I
cool
thought
video.
that's what
to
he
do
said he
everything.
wanted to do, yeah.
How cool would that video be?
You guys don't pay attention to me, I swear.
No, sure. Well,
What's that say?
Every game that's added in 2022 to Game Pass, I'm attempting to play, with a couple of exceptions.
Okay. This is what I think of that.
people can't see, Mike.
Yeah, but people in the podcast think I said nothing, so.
All right, let's jump into the news. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan was on a tear this week, dumping a bucketload of juicy info during a recent business briefing. What did our favorite non-CIA agent have to say? Spoilers, I didn't know there was CIA. So on PC and mobile releases. So plan is for half of PlayStation releases to be on PC and mobile by the end of the fiscal year 2025. Quote, PlayStation Studios historically has executed wonderfully in the delivery of a strong portfolio of narrative-rich, graphically beautiful single-player games. But it's certainly the case that we have restricted ourselves to a rather narrow portion of the gaming market. By expanding to PC and mobile, and it must be said, also to live services, we have the opportunity to move from a situation of being present in a very narrow segment on the overall gaming software market to being present pretty much everywhere. So according to their graphs, the split of platforms would be at the end of FY22, 75% to consoles, 15% to PC, 10% to mobile, and then by the end of FY 2025, half would be consoles, 30% PC, and 20% mobile, with PS4 releases phased out by 2025. Please God. And we're already starting to see more of this. So SteamDB, the little snoops that they are, spotted a Returnal PC port, which is very obvious that will happen. Hopefully it finds another audience there as well. So what do we think about this, boys?
I mean, do you go first, Swinny? Yep.
I'm just wondering, what is that 10% of mobile by the end of this financial year? What is that 10%?
I thought they've bought some studios, haven't they?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, I was looking at mobile games that are, like, related to PlayStation, and there's games there, but they're all games that have, been out for ages. I'm like, are they going to be announcing some new mobile titles this year?
Or maybe acquisitions. I don't know. I don't know like what they actually have at the moment from a mobile offering.
Well, there's got older games like Run Sackboy Run. There's like an Until Dawn game. But that's what I'm saying. Like I was looking at, are there games they put out this year? Because that 10% seems really high for this year.
No, it's fair enough. I just can't remember if they acquired anything that was making mobile games, but maybe I'm wrong. Mike?
Yeah, so I am all for accessibility in terms of letting as many people play a particular game as possible on whatever platform, especially in a year when it's hard to get your hands on some of these consoles, as has been the case in the last couple of years. And they're not particularly cheap either, so 750 Australian bucks to be able to play some of these games if you want to. Relatively high for some people. Whereas if you already have a PC, hey, awesome. Why not be able to play these games? So I'm not talking about it from a business perspective. That's a whole different story and what strategically they should be doing. But from a consumer perspective, hell yeah. The more of these games come to PC, the better. I have a few friends who exclusively play on PC, and they're always saying, oh, I wish I could play Bloodborne. I wish I could play this. And now they're starting to be able to play some of those games, which I think is freaking awesome. So strategically, it's pretty cool. 30%, that's a huge jump when you think about it. For a company that used to be exclusively console, because that's what PlayStation was, going to only half of their sales. And you got to keep in mind that...
half their releases.
Half their releases. Yeah. That's a good point as well. You got to keep in mind that, from my understanding, consoles themselves don't tend to make profits. They can even be a loss. So it's really the games that they get a lot of the money from. And of course, we're talking about, third-party games as well, not just their own games. But going to 50, that's a huge jump, I think. So for a consumer, freaking awesome. I mean, other than the hardest Sony PlayStation fanboys that for whatever reason want a particular game to only be on their console, I just can't see why anyone would not want this to happen.
I was about to say, Mike, not everyone's happy. There's people literally going around saying, no, they're taking away our exclusives. We're putting them on PC. I'm just like,
I don't think there's really people saying that. There's just like a few people, and they're amplified like crazy.
Super minority, I'd imagine.
They do exist. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, like, mate, I could find someone who, I don't want to say some extreme view, but you know what I mean. Like, it's the internet.
They exist.
No, but I think I want to pick that point up though, because they've been very conservative rolling out these games, extremely conservative, right? Like rolling out games, really testing the waters, like games that are very old, and it's like, okay, we'll bring them on PC. We'll see what the reaction of people is, right? Because I do think, you could easily see a situation where people are like, Why do I have a PlayStation if it's all going to come on PC? This is bullshit. Like I feel ripped off. And that did not eventuate. Like, yeah, you got a couple of nutcases who, go, oh, this is bullshit. I thought it was exclusive. Da, da, da. Who cares? Like, you've got your PlayStation, they'll never release these games day and date. I don't see that happening. Like, I think they're always going to go on PlayStation first, and then maybe it's a year later. It's almost like a cinema model, going out to the cinemas and then on streaming services, 90 days later or 30 days later or whatever. But yeah, it's worked. It's really worked for them. They're getting millions of sales. Like Days Gone had 1 million sales just on PC. It's insane, right?
This is awesome. For a game that was already made, that they ported, which wouldn't have cost it.
Well, that one in
really,
particular, because
speaking.
that was Unreal Engine. So that would have been probably even more straightforward to port. And then it's also, I just wonder how many people double dip. Like how many people play God of War on PS4 and then it's like, okay, you get a better version on PC. And it was like 3-4 years ago I played it. Well, okay, maybe I'll get it again and play it on the Steam Deck and stuff like that. Yeah. So I just see the upside to this. And I do hope that certain games like Returnal get like a second wind on PC. I feel like that's almost like more of a PC crowd, a game like Returnal. So it's going to be interesting. And I think, like Days Gone, different homes for different games. So I think this is just a kind of a no-brainer for PlayStation. Also, they're not done with acquisitions. So 5 acquisitions in the last fiscal year: Housemarque, Nix's Software, Firesprite, Bluepoint, and Valkyrie. So acquisitions of Bungie and Haven Studios are underway, and they've invested in Discord, Devolver Digital, and Excelbyte. So, quote, in terms of future M&A activity, the answer to that is that we are not at all finished with our strategy of trying to grow PlayStation Studios inorganically. As we transition from our historic game development strategy to a much broader and much wider market reach than we enjoy today, it is very likely that inorganic stimulus will be required to help us realize these dreams. I kind of laugh because I feel like I'm back at work, like listening to this kind of like talk. But it's funny the word organic and inorganic, because I must admit there's Colin Moriarty is one of the biggest like PlayStation pundits. He's always banging on about PlayStation only does organic growth, like studios they work with, like Housemarque, and then, build them up and then buy them out or grow internally. So it's quite funny to hear them say specifically inorganic. But Mike, what do you reckon in terms of potential? Like, what are they going to be trying to go for, I guess, is the question. From an acquisition point of view.
A few really cool remakes. So we're talking about, I'm thinking specifically about the acquisitions they've already got. They're getting really cool developers. So Bluepoint, they did the remaster of Demon Souls. Freaking amazing. If a company like that did a remaster of a game like Bloodborne, and we talked about this in the past, instant buy for me. I was so really happy with the way Demon Souls turned out as the remake, that it'll just be an instant buy. And then of course, Housemarque, I keep thinking Housemarque. They have a particular type of game that they make that they're really good at making, because I believe they also did Resogun from memory. Obviously they did Returnal, and it's the kind of game that I think they're awesome fun games. I've got a couple of friends who are really into that. I have one specific friend who plays Resogun to death. He clocked Returnal. He's really into those kind of games. So yeah, I think the particular companies they're going for are pretty good. They're pretty smart. I think it's good companies to be gobbling up.
How about you, Swinny? What do you reckon they're going to go for?
Yeah, look, it's interesting to look at the type of companies they're buying. Obviously, they're buying companies that are specializing in certain things, but also they aren't Japanese studios. And at some point, you got to think they may be interested in picking up a smaller Japanese studio. I think a studio like Level 5, because I was just double checking if Level 5 are actually owned by any other entity, and it seems like they're still independent. That would make perfect sense because I've worked directly and with PlayStation before and on exclusives and things like that. And I was just thinking, okay, in terms of Japanese studios, a lot of them, everyone's like, oh, you're Square Enix, oh, you're that. Like, to me, they'd be looking at
Capcom.
smaller studios that have a really good track record of putting out great single player experiences. Now they're talking a lot about live service, and we'll mention it in a moment soon. But yeah, like I can't see them picking up something like Platinum with the state that Platinum currently in, unless they can get them for maybe really cheap, and then basically have access to that IP as well. So
I just thought it would have made more sense for them to do a licensing deal with a Konami, like a 10-year licensing deal, and be able to make like Castlevania, Silent Hill, like those type of games. Because I always kind of have now bonded them more to PlayStation, amazingly. Even though
same. In my head, I'm the same.
I can definitely tell you a million more Nintendo Castlevania games, like Advance, DS, Nintendo, Super Nintendo games. But for some reason, Symphony of the
you've got
Night.
999,996 to go.
Okay, I'll keep going. So like Aria of Sorrows, and even with all saying that, I think Symphony of the Night being kind of almost like the landmark of that series for a lot of people, it totally bonded it to PlayStation for me. And then
but every Castlevania since then has not been exclusive to PlayStation. So.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm like, this is how I
except
feel. You can't tell me how I feel.
Except for there were a couple of PS2 games, but I mean that's a long time ago.
I know, but I'm just saying this is how I feel about it. Like
I'm the same with Silent Hill, exactly the same thing. And I know they've been on other platforms. But
same as Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is PlayStation for me.
Yeah.
Like it
Even though it's on Xbox,
it's disgusting that it's on Xbox.
Oh no, you were just talking Castlevania. That's what I said. So.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like some of these games, like I thought they would have pushed into that, but I think the obvious thing to point out is they're going to be looking at live service stuff even more. Like even with the acquisition of Bungie, they still don't have enough live service talent. Like, and even if they grow that talent internally, they still probably need to bring in more inorganically, as Jim Ryan says. So I'm not sure, like, is that I know that it's going back to the stupid rumor kind of mill, but like it does make sense for like studios more like a Ubisoft because they do so much live service stuff and they're in a weird spot at the moment as well. I can't see them going down the Japanese route given that they, have dissolved, Japan studio and all the stuff that they've done there. And they're very American centric as well at the moment and European centric.
Yeah, but what I was thinking was if they were to go that route, that's why I was looking at what option there, because it's kind of like, okay, if they wanted to diversify further, that would be Level 5 would be a company that I think would be a good fit for them. So
yeah, I'd probably say it a bit different. I'd almost think like maybe more of a Korean studios, because there's a lot of Korean studios we are not very familiar with, but they're absolutely dominant in live service. It's almost like more of a live service market, those areas. So that'd be potentially one, avenue. So investment in new versus existing IPs. So the plan is for Sony to invest 50-50 in new versus existing IPs by fiscal year 2025. Quote, new IP is the lifeblood of all entertainment, and SIE is significantly increasing the amount that it is spending in this space. So in FY19, 23% were new IP versus 77 existing IP. FY22, new IP investment increased to 34%, and they will obviously increase to 50-50.
That is awesome.
I'm a big fan of this.
I'm a huge fan of this, yeah. So someone who, not to bag Nintendo out, but to someone who thinks that Nintendo just flog a dead horse to bits with their IPs, I'm really glad that they're going for something like this. And again, not to bag Nintendo, but there were certain games that I played, like Mario Golf, for example, that I think would have
totally bagging Nintendo. What are you talking about?
Okay,
not
fine,
to bag Nintendo, but that fucking Japanese
much flogging. That there's a few of their games that I think I would have enjoyed more if it wasn't a Mario game. If it was exactly the same mechanics, same idea behind it, but just not with a Mario IP in it. So I'm looking forward to this. Like some of the coolest, most recent IPs, if you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, even Days Gone, there's so many cool IPs that, and don't get me wrong, God of War is also an amazing game on an old IP, but there's so many cool newish IPs that are absolutely fantastic that I'm hoping there's more innovation and more cool stuff like that coming out.
I think like, can I just say though, like I think your example of like Mario Golf is kind of a poor one, because I think that's an example of, like it doesn't serve it having a new IP. Like there's no reason. I think it's almost like there's other
okay, that's
games
probably
like
not the
Luigi's
best,
Mansion where you could go, they could create a new IP instead of using
Yeah.
Luigi and, you know, integrate that in further. And I think Splatoon's one of the best examples of that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like debating internally, how do we make this a Mario thing? You know,
They
and I'm so
probably
glad
did.
they did it.
They were probably thinking
Yeah,
about
but
it.
it's
I'm
good
glad
that they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I didn't mention, I know it's going all the way back to the Octopath thing, Swinny, though, is there's metal in the Octo expansion. Like, literally metal music that they have in it. It's like, because it's a new IP, Splatoon, relatively, I mean, it's 7 years old now, but it's so cool that they can do that. They just never would be able to do that in Mario or Zelda or anything like that, so... But how about you, Swinny? What do you think of new IP versus old IP?
Bring it on. It's their track record of creating new IP alongside even like second, third party developers, you know, like look at Last of Us, right? You know, these kind of studios that they bring on, they eventually buy out. But it's kind of then they can also rehash and remaster all those new IPs when they eventually need more money. So yeah.
I'm like an extremist with the IP thing because I hope that they don't make Elden Ring 2. Like, I'm like, it's just make a DLC and then that's it. It's done. Never go back to it. Like, but I'm an extremist. I'm an extremist.
I mean, I know that, and I'm with you as well, and I think it doesn't need to have one. But if you look at something like Dark Souls, it's a second game by name, but really it's a different game, right? The lore is different from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. The mechanics might be the same, but it's a totally different world. So it's probably the equivalent. They'll make an Elden Ring, but it doesn't have to be Elden Ring. It'll be an open world Elden Ring like kind of game.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. And then other tidbits. So PlayStation VR 2 will have over 20 games at launch, including first-party games. Sony has 2 unannounced live service games in development. The rumors are Twisted Metal by Firespray, Last of Us Online title, Guerrilla Games Online title, and Firewalk title. God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo TV shows are in the works. You know, with Gran Turismo, Swinny, is that a TV show or a movie? I thought it was a movie.
So there's 2 reports out there, one saying movie, one saying... I just included this because it came from Sony Entertainment directly, or whatever the division
SIA,
was.
Or, it's a different one. It's the media one, right? Yeah.
So that's why I put it there. They're saying there's some things out there saying that they're trying to get Neil Blomkamp for a Gran Turismo movie. So, and they said Nev Campbell has joined the cast of a Twisted Metal TV show that I didn't even know existed. That actually has a
you didn't know
bunch
about
of
this
people.
show? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't know about it.
Yeah, so Neve Campbell joined, but there's actually like all the people on there are legit actors, like no joke actors.
There's a lot of names in it. Yeah.
It's like so odd that they're making this. They're
It's so
reviving
odd
this
because
IP.
like Twisted Metal is a whacked out storyline, so it could be interesting, but it could be absolute dog shit as well. So
It's very strange. Maybe it's just because it's like so you could do anything with it in a way. But also with David Jaffe, the guy who is the creator of Twisted Metal, I thought it would have given them pause to just go, do we really want to touch this? It's because it's going to bring this guy into the PR of it. And he's already like said a whole bunch of shit about it. I mean, it should like, to me, I'd be like so stoked, even if it was a dog shit, if someone made a movie or a TV show about some kind of idea that I had.
he's too busy turning down like $100 million deals with Tencent to worry about a TV show.
Yeah, or like saying why Metroid Dread shit because like a very obvious thing that everyone picked up on.
He's still on that, man. Like he has not given up.
What did he say?
No, we're not going to get into it now. Let's just say he can't pay attention.
Yeah, there's a part of the game where it literally doesn't allow you to leave or anything until you do something that's pretty clear. And all streamers,
I remember.
There's a compilation of like 100 streamers doing it and instantly getting it, and he didn't get it, and he thought it was bad design.
It's now the community now calls it the Jaffe Room.
That's awesome.
I think I know the part. Yeah,
like speedrunners and all that.
That's so awesome. And then State of Play presentation, which has been announced, which is for this Friday Australian time in the morning. Exciting reveals, exciting reveals from our third-party partners. Sneak peek at several games in development for PlayStation VR 2. So lots of Sony news, man. Sony have dominated the news cycle ahead of the traditional E3 space. So.
And I gotta say, while I appreciate it when you're looking at the headlines, your websites like, that we steal all our content from, like your Video Games Chronicle,
Inspired.
they're like, okay, here's 15 articles from this
Yeah.
one briefing thing. But it does help disseminate the information in a way that's, I think, a bit more palatable. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What,
Yeah,
so
go
wait,
on.
just quickly, what out of all the things that with the other tidbits, what are you looking forward to the most?
Like VR too.
VR? Yeah, same.
Yeah. Like I don't have a
Although-
VR unit, so I'm not a
me
big
mine.
fan of VR. Like I think it's like whatever. And even if I do get PSVR 2, if it's a reasonable price, rumors are saying it's a reasonable price. People who know a hell of a lot more than us are saying people will be surprised by the price, which I'm like in a positive
really?
way. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Because I'm expecting it to be as expensive as a PS5.
PlayStation. I'm not. It
Really?
wouldn't sell.
Okay.
It wouldn't sell enough.
Because of the
It'd
Oculus,
have to be
that's
a bit
why,
cheaper.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really shaped the market a bit, hasn't it? Yeah.
It has, to the extent that the other day I saw a second-hand, what was it, the HTC Cosmos?
Vive or whatever. Oh, Cosmos, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's just not worth it. The bloody Oculus has spoiled me. It's just a shame
It
it
is.
didn't. I had issues with it from personally just because of my glasses and stuff.
Wow.
But definitely PSVR, man. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. My only slight worry is that I enjoy VR. I've spoken about it before, but my PSVR sitting just 2-3 feet
Yeah.
away from my head right now, and I used it maybe 3 times. That's it.
I do
But
wonder.
that's because it was clunky.
It's clunky. And this
It was really clunky to set up.
Speaking of like devices that never caught on really in a big way, it's a bit like this Wii U device, right? Where
Yeah.
it's just a bit too clunky, everything about it. Like the actual gamepad's too clunky. I go, oh, I'm just gonna go over there for a second, sit on the couch to do something. Oh, and then there's a disconnection. It's like, oh, like really? So it's just never quite fired.
Which is a shame because it's really cool from one of the few games I actually played on my Wii U was Mass Effect. And
Yeah,
the fact
Mass
that
Effect
it
3,
had
right? Yeah.
Mass Effect 3, and it had the actual powers and stuff and abilities and whatnot on the pad while you're playing the game on the actual
Yeah.
screen. And that was cool. That was a really cool experience.
And
So
and
for stuff like that, it was awesome.
And how about you, Swinny? Anything you're looking forward to out of these announcements?
I'm looking forward to the next news segment.
I was trying to move on, you know that. I'm just actually making sure I haven't already pressed the button. So with the new PS Plus launching in select Asian markets this week, we've been given a look into how the service handles their classic games, and well, there's a few problems. So PS1 emulation. So big thanks to Mystic and also to Digital Foundry. We are big fans of both of those channels for a lot of their analyses. So, the dreaded, we even joked about it before it launched, kind of joking, hey, PS1 Classic used a lot of PAL versions. They're not going to do that again. That's like obvious, like they've learned that mistake. Wrong so far. So far. Now, again, let's be clear. This is Asia that they're launching in. This is not comparing the US. Having said that, we are in a European market by weird circumstance in Australia. So we're likely to get, we were a PAL region, so we're also more likely to get PAL stuff. But so like PAL version so far, Ape Escape, Kurushi, how do you say that?
Karushi, that's
Kurushi,
intelligent.
sorry,
That's Intelligent Cube.
Jumping Flash, Wild Arms, Everybody's Golf, and Worms Armageddon.
They're just the ones they might be more. There's
Yeah.
just other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like NTC versions for Tekken 2, Mr. Driller, Siphon Filter, Toy Story 2. So effectively, just at a high level, with those regions, PAL was always like a 50 hertz, so 50 frames a second, kind of like you can think of it that way, or half that, 25 frames a second. NTSC, so Japan and the States, it being 60 hertz, 60 frames, or 30 frames, or like divisible by those amounts. So like 20 frames per second, whereas our region was like 18 frames a second. And then you have massive problems with that because you're trying to sync up the frames and it's like a number that's not divisible by the other. So there has to be something you do. So when they launched, there was just like bad frame pacing. You can see it. Like, I don't know if you guys watch the videos, but
Yeah.
it's so obvious. It's like, this does not look smooth at all. It looks jarring. But now they're doing like frame blending essentially. Like, okay, we don't have a frame, so let's just merge the next frame and the previous frame together. But then obviously, you know, like we use Photoshop all the time and tools like that. If you do that to every image, there's going to be some weird images that come from that, especially if it's like really different images. So you get that ghosting effect. So disappointing, man. Like it's incredibly disappointing. And I want to get onto heaps of other stuff with it, but what is your reaction, Swinny?
Look, my reaction is similar to the initial reaction when Nintendo first released the N64 emulator on Switch Online, which is, for a lot of people, it's going to be their first exposure and impression of these games. If it's like, again, like if it's like this when it comes to other markets.
Yeah.
And that really sucks, especially people that don't follow this stuff. They're not going to know that these games aren't running at what they should be or what is optimal for them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, these games feel bad.
Like Ape Escape, right?
Yeah, they just don't feel right. And that really sucks because that's one of the great things about this service to me. It's introducing a lot of these classic games to people that haven't played them before. They may have heard the names. So it really sucks, and it's the fact that they have gone through this before. Now, I can't remember if it was Digital Founder or someone else was saying their assumption is because of the language options available in the PAL versions. That's often why they've gone with those. But man, Mike, why are you wearing a fucking Batman mask in the middle of a PlayStation 1 emulation sequence? All right. Yeah, it sucks. What can I say? It sucks.
So like, because some regions they make you release it in multiple languages. Like I think that's the case in Canada. You need to have French as an option, I believe, in some of those regions if you want to release a game. But yeah, like I agree. Like with the biggest thing that they said in it, just give people the option to be able to install either version. You know, like for sure you'd rather play Ape Escape, even if you don't understand the language. If you're German, you don't understand English, I would play the English version over.
That's racist.
I think you can tell Mike's interest level in PlayStation 1 emulation,
or just like the show in general.
I'm trying to entertain the crowd. Come on.
Entertain the crowd. Most people are listening audio.
We're trying to inform as much as we,
Okay. You guys inform, I entertain.
On a topic that we're very, like, I'm quite ignorant of, but we're at least trying to inform people.
Oh, well, I don't think we're totally ignorant of it.
I said I'm ignorant.
I don't think you're ignorant of it. I think this is worse, though, than even the 64 launch, to be honest, because most of the games were fine on the 64 launch. It's very disappointing that major games like Ocarina of Time were very poorly represented by how they launched it, but it just seems like most of the games in this have issues, like one or two issues with them. And can we move on to, like, is that it? Like, really? Like, did I misinterpret something here? Like, when they go, here's the library of the PlayStation 1 games.
What was I talking about last time, man?
I know, but like,
nothing.
Yeah, man.
It's nothing. I don't know, because but Swinny, as I said, they're gonna they said there's 700 games. They said that, and I'm like, where the fuck are the games, man? And then someone was like, oh, are they counting the PS4 and PS5 version as 2 games?
Oh, so that would be
biggest
That's
load
kind
of
of dodgy.
shit
If that's the
ever.
case, yeah.
Do the numbers based on that, and it makes more sense. And I'm like, that is dog shit. Because bullshit.
Because basically, like, you can, when you choose one of these classic games, you choose a PS4 or PS5 version, and if they're counting each version of that as a separate SKU or separate game. What a fucking misleading bullshit if that's the case. Now, in saying that, a lot of the library that came out from the Asia launch, like, there's a lot of great stuff in there, but this classic library is so lacking. Now, obviously, they'll add to it. But, man, like, there's...
I just don't know.
There's not a single Twisted Metal PlayStation game on there. No, come on.
But also, where is all the PlayStation 2 games? Like, I'm actually super confused by this service. Like,
well, they're there, but they're PS4 games.
But that's not PlayStation 2 games. Like, it's like I'm a big fan of PlayStation. I find this launch so fucking baffling. What they're doing with this, it's so like. Is this the team that launched the PS1 Classic, who then shifted onto this project and totally fucked it up as well? It seems, in a weird way, worse than what they had before with PlayStation Plus and PS Now.
I just have a feeling execs come in and go, can't be that hard. Let's go do this. You've got a budget of X amount. This is the time you get. And they don't realize it's not that simple to do some of this shit.
We know how the man at the top feels about classic PlayStation.
We
games.
also,
It's true.
exactly.
It's true.
So there you go. I just think they were under budget. And guaranteed the people working in this raised the red flags. They said, nah, this isn't going to work. You're not giving us enough time. You guys need to, you know.
You make a
think about
very
this properly.
serious point, Batman.
You're welcome.
I can't get
Hello,
over
Joe.
this. I just double checked it. They literally said there's going to be 700 plus games launching in June, right?
Whoa.
How does the numbers add up? There's 269 games total in Asia. 269, right? Now they don't get PS3 like us, right? And we'll move on to PS3 as well, right? With this comment, but how are they going to get to 700? It doesn't. I honestly
I'll tell
think,
you how.
No, dude. I think people are right. They are double counting the games, saying
Yeah.
there's PS4 games and PS5 games, so that doubles it to about 500, and then add 100 PS3 games that are going to have PS4 and PS5 options, and they'll get you to 700. If that's the case,
Yeah.
that's fucking bullshit. That is like the biggest lie ever.
Let me analyze this with science. 250 times 2
Just marking the bits I'm going to edit.
is
out of the show.
500.
So,
I wish this had alcohol in it right now.
yeah, go on, Swinny.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, look, even if they're gonna add a whole bunch more for the American market, like that's screwed over like people in Malaysia and stuff that were.
Oh, and us. You don't reckon
And
we're going
us,
to get
but-
screwed?
No, but I'm just saying it's like even then it's like second class citizens if that's the case, you know.
But also, why would they do that? I don't like. I get it if there's like maybe a couple of dozen games different. You know what I mean? Because of licensing, it's super hard. They don't know who owns a certain game in a region because that was more common back then. But yeah, it just seems total bullshit. Like there's 0 PS2 games. PSP, there's 1 PSP game.
one single
One fucking PSP
That's
game.
really weird.
What
that's,
the fuck?
That's the weirdest
And
part, yeah.
It's a port.
Why?
yeah, and it's
It's a fucking
a-
port.
and it's one that has a PS3 version that you can like.
Maybe that's the reason why they did it.
I'm
'cause
actually
it's-
like getting angry
actually the
about this
PS3
shit. I'm
version.
actually getting angry about this shit. I feel like if this was Nintendo doing this, people would rip this like to shreds. Honestly, like people are not like critical enough of Sony with this bullshit.
Well, Nintendo kind of did some of this.
What are you talking about? What?
Well,
like,
I think no.
they
as in
never
when
said
did
there's
the-
gonna be
no, but they-
700
no,
like NES
So-
and
no,
SNES
but
games.
So that's the smart thing about Nintendo because they probably
not
knew they
lying.
wouldn't be able to do that. But when they did do the 64 shit, they screwed that up too.
yeah, but again,
And it was such a limited number of games as well. So
But they
they
didn't
never
say there's going
promised
to be
it was
more.
going to be 100 games.
Yeah, they didn't
No, but
say
it's-
there's going to be more games than what they delivered. That's
no,
the
I
thing.
know what you mean, but
They over delivered that
saying
stuff because they
Sony's-
released games straight away after it as well.
Yeah, but they screwed up the release of those games initially.
But only a
and
couple,
it was a small
not
set.
Not most of the games. Like most of
Yeah,
the games don't work well in this version. I wouldn't want to play them. Honestly, play them on emulation. It's way better. Like way better. And you can play more actual PS2 games. There's no fucking PS2 games on this thing. So with PS3, there's no DLC with the streaming. What the fuck are they doing?
Like with this one is
Huh.
this one is really weird because like you've got games like Asura's Wrath, which is the one that all the articles are pointing out, but it's so true. That game, the DLC actually finishes the story of the game. It's horrible. It's horrible game design by Capcom, but it's
Yeah,
literally
but
the game story requires a DLC if you want to finish it. And even if you own the DLC, it still doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't
but if you
matter.
guys look at how the technology, how they've actually implemented this technology, because there's a great article about this. That it's because whenever you go to play a game, so say you want to play the particular game you mentioned, there's someone somewhere on the other side of the planet, I think, I don't know where the servers are, that physically has to put the disc in. And the disc itself doesn't have the DLC.
You're an
So,
idiot. You're a fucking
If you're trying to
idiot.
play the game, well, it makes sense, right? Where the hell are they going to get the DLC from? They can't just swap another disc with the DLC into it.
You know what's funny about it, what you're saying? It's kind of actually like not that much far away from what you're saying is what they actually
I'm joking,
do.
but that's probably kind of what.
No, because they
well,
have
not the physical display.
no, they actually physically have PS3s, physical real PS3s hooked up to this Like, it's ripped apart, but it's their motherboards and stuff.
So
it's kind of crazy.
maybe it is literally how it gets done, and then it reroutes to a game that isn't a particular.
I mean, maybe that's true. Maybe they just don't know how to even kind of apply the DLC to it. It's like they can't work it out.
Can I just say the next one we've got, the subscription stacking stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to say up front that trying to understand everything that's going around this bullshit was like trying to figure out a Professor Layton puzzle. It was like,
okay. I know you've written the notes,
crazy.
But I know exactly what's happened here, right?
Please explain.
So I'll explain. Like, I'll explain it into detail, all right? There are 2 ways that you can sign up to PlayStation Plus. Via the PlayStation itself, Sony, or you can get a redemption code from a retailer. In Australia, that'd be EB Games, JB Hi-Fi, right? If you get it via discount at JB Hi-Fi, EB Games, PlayStation doesn't know if it's on discount or not. It's just a legit subscription. They had a technical issue, which was they do have discounted PlayStation Plus on the PlayStation itself. So you can, from time to time, it's not common. So people who signed up via that, so it was usually about 33% off, when they went to redeem and upgrade their membership, the system treated it like, okay, they've only paid, whatever it is, $50 instead of $75. So the system, the coding obviously just said, okay, we'll take the amount that you need to pay minus what you paid, which was like $50, not 75,
I get
right?
it now. I get it now. Yeah.
That's what happened. So if you signed up for the normal one, it just came through the system at $75. You didn't have to pay extra. It was just an error. Like I give PlayStation a break for that because they're paying people back already now.
So
like
what
they're already
about,
starting to process that.
And
what about these allegations that alleged support email that had it in a script? Though?
100%. But you know what happens? It's like, number one, the support people, they have to come up with a resolution. Sometimes they go to, like this happens in my world, they'll come to head office, go, what do you want us to say? And it's like, well, I can't tell you right now because we're going to have a big meeting about it and then we'll tell you in a week's time. They need to say something to people, right? And the fact was they are charging people. So I can kind of understand why the help desk said, well, we're charging people. We haven't been told this is an error. We just have to say that that's how the service works. I do kind of get that. And the fact that they've corrected it and they're fixing it, they're paying people back, I kind of give them a pass on that. The stacking, I don't know. Like, I'd love to know what you guys think about it. So people have stacked, I've seen people online stack out to like 2042, right? Their subscriptions. The challenge is if they upgrade at all to the next tier up or the tier beyond that, they have to pay all of the future months up front. And it could be like $1,000 or something like
honestly, that. That almost makes sense to me because you've activated your subscription for that long. So
yeah, I kind of am the same. Yeah,
yeah, it's weird.
That part makes sense to me. Yeah.
But thanks for explaining the other thing because that was obviously a big
confusing.
thing.
Yeah,
but like everyone, all right, cool.
People want to go crazy about it, right? I think get crazy about the games, not the subscription service itself. But yeah, what were you about to say, Mike? Sorry.
No, I was going to say the stacking thing's an interesting one. It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, if they really wanted to, they could have coded it so you still have a subscription until 2030, but your upgrade is only for a year, and then you revert back to that. But you can't really revert back to that because that thing doesn't kind of exist anymore. So
and then you're gonna get people pissed off and go, what's happening? The biggest flaw is that they allow people to redeem for like 10 years or 15 years.
That's
the biggest flaw.
I mean, it's awesome for people in some ways.
Not really, because like
not really when this happens. Yeah.
As a business, I wouldn't want to effectively. I now have a liability. There's an obligation to comply with something. I don't know if we want to run this business for 15 years. You know what I mean? So I think it's stupid on their business part. So, but
it's probably something in the T's and C's when you go to redeem that says the service may not continue.
Yeah, and they don't allow it anymore from what I understand. So I'm not sure if they're going to undo that after everyone converts over. But I have to say now, guys, like with all this shit coming out, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to upgrade. No way.
It's gone from, hey, I'm interested to I'm going to wait, which is not a feeling
they iron it out.
They should be.
It's kind of crazy, man. Like last week I was like, I might even actually be a dog and subscribe to this shit, even though I said I wouldn't.
I want to play Wild Arms, but I don't want to play it.
No, have you seen it?
Version?
But have you seen the footage? It's so choppy. It's like, God, it's so embarrassing. All right. Sony, bit of an up and down week this week. Do you want to cover the next one, Swinny?
I certainly want to, yes. It is a story that is near and dear to my heart, which is Capcom celebrating the 10th anniversary of Dragon's Dogma this week, which has actually added fuel to the fiery speculation that the long-awaited sequel announcement may be imminent. So this week I'm going to break some rules of the show. I'm going to start to veer. I'm going to start to veer into some territory we don't normally, which is like speculation, leaks,
Exciting.
leaks
Tell
and
us.
rumors, juicy stuff, and I don't care because it's my show. Damn it, it's my show. I control the run sheet. So, all right. For anyone that doesn't know, Dragon's Dogma came out obviously in 2012. It's a very cult hit. It did sell decently, but nothing like Capcom's other big IPs. It's an action RPG with an open world that was praised for its very innovative mechanics and its really cool take on combat. And it's actually, and this surprised me, the last brand new IP that Capcom actually released until Pragmata comes out. So that'll be their latest new IP.
Holy moly.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
10 years ago, we're just talking about IPs and the fact that they're not releasing enough IPs.
But they had
And
that new
around-
game, Resident Evil, that they released only recently.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Like the sequel only
Hold
came
on,
out.
yeah.
Resident Evil 2.
Around the 360 era, they were putting out like Lost Planet, like these new IPs
Yeah,
and everything.
they were going
And,
crazy.
Yeah.
But there's actually only been 2 games in the series. So one is the original Dragon's Dogma, which got an enhanced version called Dark Arisen. So that's one game. And then they did put out an MMO called Dragon's Dogma Online that only came out in Japan. That actually shut down in 2019. So 10-year anniversary for essentially what is a one-game series to many people. Seemed a bit odd, but this is really that's why I talked about, it started the speculation because people have been wanting a sequel for years. So the director of the game, who's Hideaki Itsuno, who's also director of Devil May Cry games. He's worked on Street Fighter Alpha, Darkstalkers, Power Stone, very obviously beloved Capcom IPs there. Teased at the start of this year that he was working on a new project. And if you actually go back further, he's stated in the past that he was given 2 projects to work on. He could either work on Devil May Cry 5, which obviously he did, and that game came out, or Dragon's Dogma 2. So Devil May Cry 5 has been out for a long time, even the new versions. So a lot of people are kind of taking his announcement on the 1st of Jan as potentially a Dragon's Dogma 2.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people are, okay, fair enough, that's, it is what it is. But then this anniversary announcement comes out, and they're kind of positioning it, like he's quoted as in, it's been 10 years. We're celebrating 10th anniversary. I look forward to working with you, with the fans. Right? No, it's obviously a translation. Now, this is with the territory we don't normally veer into. Dragon's Dogma 2 is previously one of the games that's been mentioned and as part of the Capcom Giga Leak in November 2020, and also the NVIDIA GeForce Now leak in
It's
September
real.
2021.
If it's in the NVIDIA one, it's real.
So that's why with all these pieces together, everyone's like, okay, they're celebrating 10th anniversary. The timing is pretty perfect if they want to announce something that potentially has been in development for a while around this summer period. So I think there's a very good chance that we'll get a Dragon's Dogma 2 announcement. And Mike, you mentioned you played it a bit this week,
I have, and looks absolutely awesome. The only reason why I didn't keep playing it is because I've got another bunch of games I'm playing, and I wanted to give this the justice it clearly deserves. So I'm really looking forward to this game. And I got it on Switch. Runs at a solid 30 from what I've been hearing. Plays pretty well. So really looking forward to it.
Fantastic game. And I think, I hope the sequel is even half as good. It'll be great.
Awesome.
So.
And it's pretty cheap as well if you want to grab it into God to give it a shot.
I've just got
70% off at the moment.
There's so many games. I'm like really trying to go through my backlog. I'm actually trying to live up to my resolution this year. So
You are so far from what I've seen.
So the other thing I want to mention, I actually went and watched the Netflix anime series this week for Dragon's Dogma. Because I'm like, I forgot that wasn't even a thing.
yeah, I
And
didn't know that actually.
yeah, it came out like 2020. I remember seeing the teaser for it. I think we spoke about it at on the show when
probably.
we first started it. But look, if you're a fan of the games, it's worth a watch. If you're not, then it's not worth a watch.
Okay, nice. All right. So we have analog news. I need an analog alert.
Yay! Wait, I'll
Finally.
give it an analog.
Finally, it's been a
digital.
while.
It's been a while.
Just back on.
So retro. Well, I will say what you've written here. Retro hardware maestros Analog have finally announced a major update to their proprietary Analogue OS that launched with the Analogue Pocket in December last year. I don't know if technically that was Analogue OS. I guess it kind of like is. I want to take you guys on a very, very, very brief journey because I just want to sort of like get to like how did we even get here? Because I think like we've all forgotten the timeline here. One thing to shout out or like to mention, I mean, like I've tried it a few different ways. I can't find any tweets from Analog around, you know, the time, suspiciously, the time they announced the Analog Pocket, around that time period. All their tweets are gone from then and all in the past. They've all been deleted. It's very odd. And I
Suspicious.
triple checked it with other places. I'm like, yeah, I can see, you know, 10 years of history. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know if it's some kind of weird Twitter limit, like maybe 1,000 tweets you can only see or something like that. But I don't know. It seemed to be funny to me.
There's a history somewhere, but isn't there? Something gets archived.
I tried
somewhere,
to check it. But anyway, I don't want to speculate because I'm not 100%
Yeah.
confident. But the Pocket was announced on Analog Day, which is the 16th of October. So 16th of October 2019 is when the Pocket was announced. And the key thing here is they don't mention anything about the Analog OS. And they say it's going to be 2020. So at the last day of 2019, they double confirmed that the Pocket is coming out in 2020 with this misaligned 2020 meme that I'm not sure if it's like knowingly tongue-in-cheek or they actually fucked it up. But anyway, then we move into July 2020, and this is when they've announced the first delay. So in July 2020, they announced when you're going to be able to pre-order the Pocket. They only had around 15,000 for pre-order, and they announced that it's going to be May 2021. And
this is the most hype an OS update beta has ever gotten in the history of mankind.
well, I feel like I haven't run through the whole thing in a while, so I just want to do it. Stupidly, they had a limit of 2 per order, which they should not have done. A lot more people would have got it. It sold out immediately within a few minutes. People were very annoyed. Everyone was like crying here. I think some people that we follow there. They announced also that the TurboGrafx 16 PC Engine Super Graphics adapter is coming to the Pocket. This is the last that we've heard of this. They barely even mentioned this on the website. And you can't order this. This is in October 2020. So this still has not... Like, we don't know anything about this still to like 3 years later.
Sorry, someone's just deleted my notes from the run sheet.
Oh,
it's Mike. I know you're not reading it, but it's like gone.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike.
I think I typed more than what the actual bloody Analog announcement was.
I'm sorry, I don't even know how that happened. I'm sorry, boys.
It's all right. And then in 2021, so this is in Feb 22, they wrote a whole note about that they're changing the way that their systems work, clarifying around having limited editions versus limited quantities. I think this was like the most consumer-friendly thing that Analog's ever done in terms of this article. It's a good read. And they did actually implement a lot of really cool new features and like bot protection. I think it was a lot more fair when Swinny and you ordered the Analogs later. Then on March 31, 2021, so they was meant to come out in May 2021 at this stage. In March 31, they announced there's going to be a delay to October 2021 due to the crisis, like as a kick on from coronavirus. Then they announced in September 10th that there's going to be pre-orders and when they're going to be shipping, and they announced another delay. So it's now December 2021, which is when they actually did release it. And you can kind of already see that they kind of have these like articles, they do it kind of proper. Now they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna post some shit because we're angry. We just want to get it up there. And they give some reasoning as to why it happened and people getting annoyed and saying I'm gonna buy the play date and they're not happy. Then after that post, so this is on the Analog Day, so October 16th, this is when they announced the Analog OS. So this is well after the Analog Pocket was even meant to be out in 2020. So this was just last year when they announced this. And it's talking about what they're going to do for all of their consoles going forward. So it's not just the Pocket, but Analog OS being, you know, more of a a library and a sort of, a collection and almost a historical artifact. So you have a library where it has reference level information about every single game. All the images you need to supply yourself. Like they won't have any images. So that's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm sure someone will have some kind of thing you can whack on the SD card. And then, you can go through the regions. It shows you different variations. They have some really cool features with this that when it comes, where you can actually, if you're in a game store with a Pocket, you can put in a Game Boy cartridge and it will pop up to tell you the exact region and the exact type of Game Boy cartridge that is and which variant it actually is. Then also from a playlist perspective, it's like the games that you're interested in, and memories like, save states, screenshots, and also just, when you've played the games. Like, so it actually show you a bit of a display. This one for me is like actually annoyed me the most. I have a DAC. So basically I can plug in the analog consoles into my Sony Trinitron CRT, but that doesn't work currently with the way they've set it up with the firmware that they have. Then moving on past the Analogue OS, this is when they sort of announced back in December when they started shipping the first shipment of the Pockets, and then announced more pre-orders and when those people will get those pre-orders fulfilled. I think you're in Group C, right, Swinny?
Yes.
So that's 2023. I mean, like the context there, that's kind of incredible, right? Like 2019 is when they announced this thing, and it's like you're going to be able to get it 2023, and that's like early.
I don't
probably.
care. Group C is the cool place to be. So.
And then this is when the device came out, and it was actually, for an analog product, in my opinion, a lot more buggy than I probably expected. Like Golden Sun 2 had like bugs in it, which, you got to always remember, it's like, even though FPGA, it's kind of like, people always debate emulation, not emulation, whatever. It's trying to emulate hardware rather than using software to emulate hardware, right? So it's using hardware to emulate hardware. You can still have issues there.
Oh, the reason Britney Spears loves getting naked on Instagram. Okay,
well, we can click
interesting.
That. We can click.
So audio listeners, he's got the Twitter feed.
This is all the stuff I'm really interested in. Morbius 2, Britney Spears.
Morbius 2 is tweeting. That's trending. That is amazing.
And then they also released another minor update in Feb. Now, this was kind of annoying for everyone because they had said in articles that 1.1 was going to be released in January. And then, so it wasn't until the start of Feb, everyone thought this was going to be 1.1, me included, but it was 1.0B, which was just minor tweaks, some nice fixes, but nothing crazy. And then finally, when we get here to like recently, or like today for us when we're talking about it, but back in May 27, they're saying version 1.1 is going to be now in July, but it's actually going to be beta.
And look, I can obviously development is very difficult, right, in all forms, but you don't have the excuse of the chip shortages and all that stuff. Like, that is a gross miscalculation of timeline there.
Yeah, and just like as they said, we appreciate everyone's patience. I also appreciate everyone's patience walking through the timeline of events of how we've gotten to this point. Look, I really like Analog. I still think someone like Swinny, Analog's the way to go with this stuff. I think with Mike, I'd honestly say something like a Mister is the way to go, right? Like, it's more configurable. It's more mucking around on your part, but it's more flexible, and you've got less people to blame in a way. Whereas this, like, they've kind of dropped the ball a few times on their recent stuff, and I think people are getting a bit shitty with Analog, and I think fairly enough, honestly. Like, I'm really not a big fan of the D-pad of the Pocket. Like, I haven't spoken that much about it recently, but I've been playing it a bit, and I'm like, man, this D-pad kind of, like, annoys me. And whenever I get that in my mind on controllers, like, I start to, like, lose interest, like, permanently, so...
Shame.
Can I just ask, with the 1.1, so they've got it'll have memories, so save states and things. So was that save states not already available?
Yeah, good question. So they have one save state for a cartridge, but because people don't really understand how the whole thing works, right? The crazy thing about it is you could have like a Pokemon Red from 99, like your childhood Pokemon Red, right? With your save game on it and everything like that. if you accidentally misuse the save states, like try to load a save state or something like that, it will actually wipe the memory of the Pokemon Red real
That's
cartridge.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And people are like almost in tears talking about it on like the Analog subreddit, like going, "Oh, I fucked up the save state and I didn't realize it," like, because they're thinking like it's like an emulator, right? But it's real hardware. So
Does
it's
it
like,
actually update the battery
yeah,
backup thing?
yeah,
Wow,
no,
that's
it's like the
nuts.
whole thing. It's just like push it in and push it out. So it would just blast the whole save state. So people have lost like 20-year saves that they've been like carefully keeping. So you got to be careful with that stuff. So like they have a really dodgy beta version of the save states now, but with the Analog OS, it's going to be more obvious. Like I think you can have multiple save states and it's going to be like a lot clearer how it all works. But still, like they are adamant that you cannot use pirated materials, you know, non-copyright ROMs, all that kind of stuff, right? I don't really understand the library and functionality. It's like, what's the point of being able to look through a library of games and then you go, oh, I need to get the cartridge and plug it in? Like, I know what library of games I have. It's called the physical carts in front of me. Like, it just, to me, it feels like such a misuse of resources unless, and, you know, everyone always talks about it with Analog, like, unless they have a jailbreak for it. Like, that's going to be the key thing, right? And I do agree that they would probably wait till 1.1 if they were going to have a jailbreak, but I don't know. My money is like that they're not going to have a jailbreak for this device. I don't think they want to have that heat. Like, because, you know, it's this kind of unofficial thing that the community always knows. It's like, of course, they're the ones making the jailbreak, someone in their team, right? But it's unofficial that they do that. But I don't think they're going to do it this time.
I wonder, though, if they don't...
Allegedly, let's just say.
Yeah,
if they
allegedly.
If they don't release a jailbreak for this, I think they'll really kill a lot of the goodwill in the community
Agree.
for the next product they put out.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. And
Because the Duo is not out yet, is it?
No. So the Duo was meant to be out last year, and then they haven't even said anything about it. Like, I was actually I had more articles and more tweets about the Duo as well, because I just think it's really weird what they're doing at the moment.
Because those games will probably be way harder to even track down the physical versions compared to a lot of these Game Boy Advance games.
Way harder and way more expensive.
And if anyone doesn't know, that's like TurboGrafx,
PC Engine
stuff. So.
Yeah, Super Graphics as well. And that one is way harder from a tech perspective. That's probably the most complicated device they've ever built because it actually has a CD drive in it as well, that system. So that's, you know, and I was kind of excited about that because, you know, I was like, oh man, imagine if they make a PlayStation, like an analog PlayStation. That'd be insane. But I mean, this is the difference now between that and the Mister. Like the Mister's already got a beta core for PlayStation. And, you know, you don't have to worry about the discs and everything like that. So, yeah, look, like, I'll say it like this. I personally don't think that Analog will release a jailbreak. That doesn't mean there won't be a jailbreak. The community will figure it out and make a jailbreak for it, for sure. Like, that will happen, right? But I think people haven't put the effort because they're just expecting, you know, quote unquote, allegedly someone from Analog is just going to do it. They're just going to change one file and recompile and go, okay, now you can put games on the SD card. So, but yeah, man, like, I don't know, Analog, it's kind of a funny one. Like, you know, Mike, looping back to you, because you're the other person who has an Analog Pocket. How much dust has your Pocket collected?
None, because I keep it in a case. But
and then how much is that case?
It'd be collecting a hell of a lot of dust.
Yeah.
Well, none, because the case is sitting in a drawer.
And then how much dust is that collecting, the drawer?
Oh my god, a lot,
handle.
because I've got 2 cats at the moment, and they go outside, and I just cut the grass, and there's
But
just shit
seriously,
everywhere.
like, have you played it?
I have, but not enough, and the problem is I just don't have enough physical cartridges at the moment, and I try to get some good ones, and every time I go to Cash Converters or something, I look through their Game Boy selection just to see if there's anything I want to grab. And they're either really expensive for the stuff that you actually want to play, or you just don't really want to play it.
Yeah.
So,
and
I
that's
kind of
probably-
regret the purchase, to be honest.
That's probably the last thing I should have said, that I'm almost more au fait with the whole, they never make a jailbreak. Okay, that's like, I don't think anyone should expect that they're going to make a jailbreak. I never expected that. The thing that does actually annoy me is that if you use flash carts, they don't work that well. Like, some flash carts don't work at all on the Analog Pocket. Now, that to me is not right. Because, you know, if a flash cart works perfectly in any Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Advance, it should work on the Analogue Pocket. Sorry, because to me, it should at least be a clone replica of a Game Boy.
Is that something that a software update can fix, though?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So the fucked up thing is that the people who make the flash cards have updated the flash cards to make them work for the current version of the Pocket.
If they're not in jail.
Yeah, if they're not in jail, right? Yeah. No, but these flashcards, these are more reputable people than what you're talking about. But it's like Crix, the guy who fled Ukraine recently. And then you're talking about jail people. Look at that. You know, he's a war survivor.
You made that connection.
Hey, he even made just a Freedom for Ukraine version of
that's
the
awesome.
EverDrive 64 recently. So
Man, EverDrive, that's actually something I wouldn't mind getting.
yeah, that's Crix guy. He's behind most of those. So
Look, I don't. It's a really weird one because I appreciate the screen. I appreciate the tech.
the
behind
screen
it.
is amazing.
It is amazing, but you know, I also have an Abernic device, which honestly I would be much more likely to use.
Yeah.
And that can do not just about any platform, but it can do a shit ton of different platforms. And it's obviously not the same hardware emulation, but for a layman like me, I wouldn't really be able to tell the difference that much. So, and the price difference is it's a third of the price.
Yeah. I feel
And
like
it can do all that shit.
that's such a
So,
damning kind of comment because you're not a dumbass. It's like that's such a damning comment on Analog that you go, oh, these two devices, I think I prefer the shittier device.
Yeah,
Like,
I do
that's
prefer the
that's kind
shittier
of like a
device,
damning
yeah.
thing of like where Analog's at right now. So, all right,
And that's not to say it's not an amazing device, because it is absolutely the bee's knees of devices when it comes to this kind of stuff. If this device was open for like SNES and the other platforms, oh my god, it would literally be the ultimate device. Like people would pay $1,000 for this thing.
Yeah, I can't wait to Swinny. Swinny, you haven't actually played one, right? I forgot to bring it down.
No?
Shit, man, sorry, I should have brought it down. It's so
I'm
stupid.
in the Group C crew. Come on, boys.
Yeah, I actually would love you to try the D-pad because you're a bit of a D-pad. What is it called?
Can't use that word. Can't use that word.
What?
The N word. The other N word.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're very tolerant. You know what I mean?
Don't feel I'm tolerant with D-pads.
Nah, bullshit. You like the Xbox D-pad, man. If you like the Xbox,
I don't like the Xbox 360 D-pad. No,
I think
that's
that
horrible
applies
D-pad.
to me. I'm the one that does not give a shit about
Oh,
D-pads.
really?
I'll use
Okay.
whatever D-pad you
I
give
feel like
me.
I'm the most extreme on D-pads.
You are
You
absolutely. the
might
most
be, but
extreme.
I'm not.
definitely most
I'm not
extreme.
tolerant. Like I
Okay.
don't even like the NES D-pads.
I am super.
Okay,
tolerant.
fair enough. Okay, yeah, I'm super interested to see you use this D-pad. I don't rate the D-pad. It's actually the thing I hate the most about the device. It's actually probably the
Well-
only thing I really don't like about the device.
I mean, I don't know what the benchmark is, but for Tetris that I've mostly played on this device, so it's a $400 and whatever dollars. I don't know, postage was so it was like at least a $400
Yeah,
Tetris
yeah,
machine
no,
for
it's
me.
crazy, right? Shit.
It
Think of like
was
that.
perfect. It worked really well for me, and same as my girlfriend actually played that device more than I have played that device now.
That's funny.
So I bought her a $400 gift just to play Tetris. It's stupid. Talk about
Alright.
a waste of money. Oh, glad I don't waste money on masks and shit like that.
Exactly. All right, well, let's wrap up the news. And as we always do when we wrap up the news, we do one min for the swin. Now at 200. And a clap to that. 200 words. That's when he has to say in 1 minute.
I don't recall there being 199 last week.
It wasn't.
What's going on?
I said I'm now just going to add these things up by
Straight to
5,
200.
and so I just went to an
Wow.
eve.
He's sick of doing it.
Pretty much.
So it was 197. So I'll just even it out to 200, and then it'll be 5 onwards if I manage to get past this one.
Okay.
Oh, you want this over. You don't want to crank it out anymore.
Yeah.
I like the one at a time. That was going well. That's a disappointment.
Man, it's bloody- I'm like, I need to step this up, man.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Step
All
it
right.
up, baby.
So as we always do, you start whenever you want, Swinny, and I'll start the timer.
Respawn Entertainment have officially revealed Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 will release on October 29th. Sega will announce a new project via live stream on June 3rd. And development of Witcher 4 has officially begun pre-production. Cult Fighter Them's Fighting Herds is coming to all consoles later this year. Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes is now confirmed for Switch alongside all other platforms. Popular MMO Pokemon clone Temtem is leaving early access on September 6th and also getting console release. While JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R launches September the 2nd is confirmed. Pet Shop Mariah, Jigo Brando, and the Ultimate Waifu Speed Dragon's new characters. The Take-Two Zynga merger has been finalized for $12.7 billion. It has been revealed that Xbox turned down the offer to make Spider-Man games for Marvel, and sci-fi horror game The Callisto Protocol is no longer part of the PUBG extended universe. A demo for Mario Strikers Battle League is now available on Switch. Nintendo has added Rival Turf and Congress Caper to their Switch SNES library and pinball for the NES, and finally support for Sega's Naomi 2 arcade board has been added to the popular Fight Cape emulator platform. I ran out of breath.
Nice.
But you also went way too far.
10 seconds.
I ran out of breath.
I think you were going too fast. It was
Holy
almost like I couldn't
moly.
understand what you're saying.
I know. Oh, look,
Damn,
I don't blame
son.
people. The good thing we don't have a special feature, so we can maybe break down a couple of things.
That was
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
yeah. It was almost too
Yeah,
fast.
I ran out of breath, man.
That was
Jesus.
amazing. And you didn't even get thrown by my little edit. That was
Yeah,
really good. Because you
I-
fixed it up, did you?
Yeah, because I knew
Yeah.
you were gonna bloody do it.
Oh, how did you know?
I wonder.
Instead of
Mr. Bestiality Roid.
Hey.
Cult Fighter, it was something else.
I need to send you this, Swinny. This is from
that?
Nintendo Switch Sports. It's like a little sweat towel, so you can use it at the
Oh
end
yeah,
of your
that's
thing.
awesome. That's perfect.
Yes, no, Mike, I was not bamboozled by your attempted hijacking of the hard work I put in each week to
Damn
this
it.
bloody run sheet.
So maybe we're
Damn
just
it.
running through some of the news. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I think we're close to always making that a story. I think
Yes.
out of any game that I have not played the original, I'm so hyped about this sequel. I'm going to play the sequel day one. So I better goddamn play the first one.
I don't understand. Do you both like Star Wars?
No, I love original Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wait,
okay.
what do you mean?
you?
You don't understand what? What do you mean?
Neither of you have played the original.
Because there's just so many games, man. Like, it's not
yeah,
because I don't want
but
to
this is the part I don't get. You both like Star Wars.
I'm not a
It's
huge
a
Star Wars fan.
Souls-like game.
He's
No,
not a Star Wars fan.
I didn't say huge fan.
No,
I
he's
said
not.
you
He's
like
not,
it.
No,
You like it.
He just
You don't like it?
he's a person. If
You're
there's a good
right.
story, he likes a
Alright.
good story. He's not
this
a fan.
guy's alright with it. This guy's alright with it.
I'm a
The guy
fan.
to my other side is a fan, right?
yeah. Not
would you say
anymore,
you
though.
both like Souls-like games?
I like Soulsborne, Souls Inspired
You like
games.
Souls Inspired, and you definitely
No, I
Swinny,
hate them.
like
What are you
those
talking
kind of
about?
games.
Elden Ring, worst
So I
game of
don't
the
get
fucking
it.
year.
If there's
Shit.
one game you guys
1 out
should
of
pick
10.
up and play, it's
Don't
this.
recommend.
It's a
It's like that
brilliant
guy's
game.
channel. I love that guy's channel. Don't recommend Elden Ring.
Troll.
Well, why can't we like this?
No,
I'm
no,
still
no,
not
nothing
following
like
the
that.
logic.
No. I'm just. It baffles me. Nothing about not liking this. It just baffles me that you guys have not played the original. I keep telling you, it's a great game. It's right up your alley. You'd
You did.
enjoy it.
I can understand with him why
Grab it.
you can ask why isn't he played it. For me,
But
I
even
freaking
you.
don't have much time.
Yeah, but
I got,
screw
like,
the rest
2
of the
kids,
games.
full-time
Play
job.
this one. For the next 2 weeks, don't worry about it. Just play.
This
play
is
that.
going back
It's
to
cheap.
Xbox Game Pass. Like, I just wish I could play this on PlayStation. I was gonna buy it. I'm like, I hate Game Pass so much.
Do you hate Game Pass, or do you not want it? Do you not like playing?
just
on
doesn't
the,
work
on the,
well.
on the PC.
No, I'm fine. I can play Steam games, all that stuff. I was
Okay.
playing, what's it called? Epic Games game the other day. It's that
Hmm.
Game Pass. Every time, literally, it's almost like I have anxiety installing a game because I do it
that's
and I'm
fair
like,
point.
it doesn't fucking work. Oh, the fucking controller doesn't work. DualShock. Oh, that's right. I need to install third-party software to make it work. So,
I just remembered. Sorry, just real quick. I have to because Joe asked me to talk about this. So, our good friend Joe Jives went and got a copy of Elden Ring.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah,
he
that's
bought
right,
it or
yeah.
it was gifted. It
Yeah.
was probably even worse because it might have been gifted by his girlfriend or something. So we finally did it, boys. We finally got him into Elden Ring.
well, I wasn't trying to get him into it.
I was. He spent 17 hours, according to Steam, playing the game. You know how far he got?
Have a-
He got into the opening part of Limgrave. Like literally when you go up that elevator and you see that Vera dude, that NPC, that's as far as he got in 17 hours. I'm not even shitting you. Now the reason is isn't because he was because you can't fuck around in the game for 17 hours unless you leave it idle. There's just not much content before that point. It's literally like what you could if you're actually going through the game in earnest, you could get to that in like 3 or 4 minutes.
Mike, can
Anyway,
I ask?
yeah.
Are you aware that we're all in the same group chat where that information was shared?
No, I know that.
It's
but
not news.
No, he wants
But
to,
I
he wants it
wanted
on
to
the, he wants
talk
to
about it
publicize
to
it
the
on our
community. I
platform.
did.
On our
Okay,
platform.
okay.
And there's some information that I think
PSA.
you guys do not know. So anyway, so he spent literally 17 hours trying to find a fix for this. because it was crashing nonstop. It kept crashing at the start, it kept crashing after a while. All these issues, he tried everything under the sun. I mean, imagine trying to troubleshoot a game for 17 hours. That's a hell of a lot of stuff he did.
He's good at that
He's
stuff.
super good, and he was determined. Determined. I would have given up many hours before that.
Do you know what?
You know
how
what
he
it turned
solved
out
it?
being?
Play it on PlayStation.
No, that is not how. See, he didn't tell you this special
Game
secret
mode.
information.
Turn game mode off.
Also not.
Okay.
He didn't tell you any of the secret information.
Screensaver.
Nope, wasn't that. It turned out his PSU, his power supply, wasn't grounded properly.
Oh.
He had to change
What?
screws. Yeah, I know, right?
What?
He had to change screws from the painted black ones to a proper full metallic one so it would make the contact grounded
What?
properly,
Wouldn't
and then
that
his
affect-
crashes stopped.
Can I just say
that more than just Elden Ring?
It did. It ended up affecting other games as well.
okay.
Yeah.
No, but can I just
After all
say that's the brilliance of this man, Joe Jives, that we talk about. There, he's able to troubleshoot so detailed that he gets back to the fucking physical hardware.
Fucking screw.
And screws, painted versus non-painted screws. I have troubleshot this and it's fixed it.
It
So
was
wait, it works now.
awesome.
It works now.
Yeah, it works now.
Ah,
yeah.
nice, cool. I'm gonna be
Brilliant.
interested to see how it goes.
Okay.
So if anyone online has crashes, check a PSU, get proper screws,
I'm
don't
not
use
sure about
painted
that,
ones.
Okay, back to 1 min. There's a couple of things.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes.
Hey, no,
hit
no,
the
you're jumping
Switch.
ahead. We're gonna go line by line.
Nah, we can go. We can move
Modern
around.
Warfare 2 is going to be massive.
We'll move around. I'd already introduced it. I'm actually shocked that game wasn't already announced for the Switch. Like, it's basically like you think of the Octopath Traveler audience.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly the kind of audience. That
Well, the
they're-
Switch audience,
they're
100 million. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like crazy. But it's good that obviously it's coming out for everyone on that one. So
Yeah. You know, the Witcher 4 thing was weird for me because they go, oh, it's in pre-production. I'm like, what was that little teaser image then? Like, I thought that was really odd, you know?
yeah, I mean, this came out of like a business thing.
Okay, so just like
This-
officially, I guess.
Yeah. So it's just that they've moved past the research development of production to.
But it says
pre-production.
begun pre-production.
Well, no, but like they were doing stuff begun before the official whatever. Like they said
that
that
is
research has
pre-production.
been completed. Anyway, whatever the
Pre-pre-production.
official terms are. Pre-pre, yeah, there
Okay.
you go. Pre-pre.
I just want to say Modern Warfare 2, man, that game, unless there's some AAA games that we don't know about, that game is going to fucking be disgusting. That's going to sell so much, man. That's going to be everywhere, Modern Warfare 2. I might buy it. It's like crazy.
Yeah, that I think will end up being the biggest selling game of the year.
Oh,
no
by
doubt,
far.
yeah.
No, but I think it could actually set the record. Like, here's a hot take. I reckon this game will set the record for highest selling Call of Duty game ever. I think all the
Possibly.
conditions are perfect and right for it. I think you're going to have more PS5s in store, Xbox Series X in store. It's going to be the game that for Christmas, people are just going to be like, fuck, there's no other game.
Maybe.
You know?
You know what I think? I think Joe Jives spent a record 17 hours doing this thing. And there's one part that I totally forgot to tell you guys. At the end of it, when he finally got to Limgrave, he uninstalled the game.
What? Why?
I shit you not. That's because that's how he is. That's what he did.
Oh, that's really odd. So he doesn't like the game.
I don't know if he likes it or not. He didn't even tell me.
He is the tinkerer.
Yeah, he needs to
He
post
just
in the
likes to
chat
tinker with it.
if he's
Yeah.
watching. Okay, interesting.
How about the fact that Microsoft apparently turned down Marvel to make Spider-Man? What a fucking
Oh,
dog
yeah,
shit
that's-
decision that was.
No, thank God, because they would have fucked it up. It would be still not released by now.
Look, but regardless, like the fact is that what a fucking horrible decision that was.
Yeah, but
Like,
I'm so sick of Xbox. They just make really bad decisions all the time, and like, thank God that they turned it down. But I agree. Like, it's like it's baffling that they did that. I don't know if it's because of a Sony thing, with Sony owning the film rights, so they just look at it as like, we're just gonna add value to their media. So hey, Joe Jives just posted in the chat.
Hey, what did he
yes.
say?
So Joe Jives, like, this Ace, you're probably gonna hear this in like 3 minutes now, but do you like Elden Ring? We want to know if you like Elden Ring or not. We can play the seamless co-op that they have now for PC for Elden Ring. What else was there, Swinny? Anything else you wanted to shout out?
Oh, yeah. So, as usual, Nintendo adding everyone's favorite games to the Switch Online service. But I will say,
Yeah.
I do, because I said it so fast, no one would have understood. Rival Turf and Congo Escaper for SNES. Rival's Turf isn't too bad. I'm not sure
not bad.
about Congo Escaper. But I actually really like Pinball for the NES. So I actually think that's a great addition, as much as everyone's probably not super enthusiastic about it.
Yeah,
I think it's a
just
really
not
good
super
game.
excited. The one that made me go, what the hell, is the Callisto Protocol.
Yeah,
How they
I thought it was that
specifically
one.
said it's not part of the PUBG extended universe.
Anymore?
Have we ever seen a situation where there's more like universe building, constructing discussion for a game that's not even out yet, and it makes no fucking difference? It's like, would it make any? They're still gonna have Easter eggs about the PUBG universe. So like, it sort of still is in the extended universe in a weird way.
Did they have a falling out with that dude or why? Sorry, go Swinny. What did?
No, I was just gonna say, I still remember when we were covering that was E3.
It got announced right live when we were talking about it, right?
And on the show, you guys weren't aware that it was in the PUBG universe, and you guys were like, "What the fuck? Like, no, you're lying. Basically, you didn't believe me. That's how stupid that idea sounded."
Because I don't get what's the point.
It's
what is
pointless.
Unless it's a tie-in just to get more sales or
The
something?
only thing more pointless than making it a part of the PUBG universe is explicitly saying it's not a part of the PUBG universe
Any
after
longer.
you said it is in the
Yeah.
PUBG universe. Like, why any of this exists, I have no idea.
I don't know. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know if Schofield was responding to someone about that, and maybe that's why it got brought up. I don't know. I know he announced that on Twitter. So.
But yeah, it's still the same publisher, right? Yeah, it looks like the same publisher, yeah. So it's not like a falling out or anything.
Sorry, Mike, I cut you off.
No, it's fine. The only thing I was going to say is there was a recent, I think it was Game Informer that had a whole bunch of screenshots and stuff from the game.
it was the cover story for Game Informer.
Yeah, and it didn't look half bad. Quite.
Oh, yeah,
definitely something I'm
looking
looking forward to. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know it was. He just posted it as an FYI. It wasn't responding to anyone, so he's just like he wanted that information out there, which I don't blame him.
Okay.
He probably just like fuck it. I want to get rid of this curse that's following our game. That's probably.
I don't think anyone cared though, right? Like,
Well, we cared enough about to talk about it. I'd rather talk about our friend Joe Jives, who spent 17 hours troubleshooting a game.
yeah. And then
Can you put the mute button on Mike, please?
Yeah, I will. But he did say that he stopped after getting out to the first mini boss. So, what else was there?
That wasn't a mini boss. That was that Vera dude. You know the first NPC you meet?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he attacked that, and that's the mini boss that he thought was a mini boss.
Joe
but it wasn't.
Jives didn't like being called maidenless.
He didn't. He took it
Didn't
personally.
appreciate it.
That was mostly it for me, Swinny. I don't know if there's anything else you want to shout out.
Look, I could talk about JoJo's forever, but you guys wouldn't care. So
No, tell us. This is
I'm
a support
just glad.
group.
I'm just glad Speedwag isn't in the game. Is in the game, and look, it's coming out September. So
Ultimate
I'm pumped for
waifu.
that.
That's
The ultimate waifu
That's
Speedwagon.
your words.
Speedwagon?
Your weeb words.
Speedwagon is the ultimate waifu.
I'm gonna
Who
see
is
this.
Speedwagon?
It's probably some schoolgirl. I'm
It is a
Speedwagon.
gentleman. It is a grown man in a top hat.
Oh, he's the waifu. Oh, what the hell is it?
Bro.
You would understand.
Is this your coming out party, Swinny? Is this your coming out party?
We do not judge on this
You
show.
would understand. You would
Okay,
understand.
actually, looking at him, I
He,
would
she, they,
understand.
them. I'm fine
Yeah.
with it all. I go.
You
I
know who
swing
would-
every way.
Yeah.
This
Who's
is just now
that dude?
devolved into Mike
Who's that
googling
dude
like he
from
does normally in the
Rocky?
show.
No. Who's that dude from Rocky? The bad dude from Rocky, the Swedish dude.
What Rocky? Rocky.
The movie Rocky.
Are you talking about Dolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Dolph
You
Lundgren
idiot.
would have
Is he
made a
Swedish?
really.
Swedish.
What is he? Dolph Lundgren.
He's
What
like
is it,
fucking
Dolph?
Russian or Ukrainian or something, isn't he?
What? No, is he? No, he is.
It'd be funny if he was Swedish. Oh shit, is he Swedish?
You idiots! He is Swedish, dude.
He is
Assholes.
Swedish. Shit.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
I'll
man.
take it. He
I'll
doesn't
take
look
it.
Swedish to me. Man.
Dolph
We'll take that L.
Lundgren
We'll take that L.
would make a cool character. He'd make a good
Wait,
Speedwagon.
you're looking at his name and you're still
character.
mispronouncing his name.
I
like,
don't know. Anyway, he'd make a really good
his name is
character, wouldn't
Hans, actually. Hans.
he? Hans.
Hans Lundgren.
So where did the Dolph come from?
I mean, it's much more marketable name.
Kinda.
I never realized he dated Grace Jones, which is just like
Grace
man.
Jones.
Grace Jones. I forget who that is.
You
You mean
know
from the
Grace Jones?
80s?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, like there's very erotic
Oh wow.
photographs of them. They're like you can't see anything, but let's just say there's photos of them together.
You've tried to
that are really
look.
interesting. There's
I want to see
there's
the
a contrast.
pics.
There's
I
a
wanna see the-
contrast. Let's just say
Yeah, this is getting a bit like early 2000s PlayStation marketing
Wait,
of the PSP
they had a
Wide.
son together?
oh man, they would have been perfect for that ad.
Why?
All right. The show's totally devolving. We're at the 2-hour mark.
Why, if I search for them, if I go Grace Jones, Dolph Lundgren,
Why do you keep on mispronouncing his name when
the first
you're
option
seeing
comes
the
up
name
as
in front of
son?
you? Maybe they had a
Not for me.
kid.
Because the D and the G. Am I supposed to pronounce the D or the G?
It's Lundgren.
Lundgren.
Yeah.
Lundgren.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Swinny.
It's He-Man.
All right.
He had
all right.
such a
Let's
good
wrap up the
physique.
show.
Oh my god, he had the best physique.
All right. So next week, Swinny. Next week, what are we doing next week?
We are talking about Sony State of Play. I'm not even looking at the run sheet as memory. State of Play.
I
if
think
there's
we'll
cool
stream it.
stuff.
I think we'll stream it. I might move
And
around my calendar a little bit.
If Sega's new project is interesting, we'll cover that. If it's boring, we won't. Or it might be a one-min story. So.
And we're fully getting into the E3 traditional time slot where lots of news is sequence scheduled, people trying to run ahead of the big announcements. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's some big news coming out. Hardly any games though. Like I go to the shops to go, I'm just going to buy a game, fuck it. Right? And I'm like, there's like nothing. There's like nothing to get. So
Oh gee, I wonder. I wish they released a Star Wars game that was a Souls-like. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
There's
Yeah,
a difference
you can play
between
that.
there's
yeah,
no
they
new
are.
games
Star Wars Jedi
versus
Survivor. It's coming out soon.
there's a difference between
Yeah,
there's
but-
no new games coming out versus
Okay.
there's no games to play.
Yeah, but why is this guy saying I'm going to the shop to buy a new game?
Because
a
he's
new
just
game.
compulsive. He wants to
buy
buy
an
new
old
Nintendo
new
shit.
game. Doesn't matter when it came out. Just buy an old new game. It's still new to you.
He bought a fucking towel from bloody Nintendo stores, man.
What is that? Because he needed to put the money to get the free shipping.
Oh, I'm no much better. I bought two
need-
sets
I
of
need-
playing cards. I'm
I
not
know,
going to
I
use
know,
the playing
I know. Again.
cards with.
And you don't
Did you
see
do it to
anyone
get
in
free
person.
shipping? It was to get free shipping,
Just to play
wasn't it?
solitaire by yourself.
It wasn't to get free
Play
shipping because the
solitaire,
64
exactly.
the 64 controller was expensive.
It was
pricey
$10
enough.
less than the.
No, it wasn't.
Really? I thought it was $10
Oh, yeah, I had-
under the free shipping.
No,
What's
these
that about
playing
that?
cards are $25 each.
Yeah, no, but how free shipping's at $80.
No, it wasn't for me. It was 60.
Oh. What?
Was it? Was
Yeah,
it?
for me it was 60. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Interesting.
I don't think
Is that
that's right.
Because
from
it
Melbourne
came
or
up as
something?
free shipping when I added it to my cart.
Wow.
I don't know if it was
just
a
the
temporary
64
thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe they just did it temporarily because they thought,
Maybe.
shit, it's only a
Maybe,
few dollars
yeah.
less. It looks really bad.
Or
'Cause I
it's
had-
cheaper in Melbourne.
Because I had that exact same thought. So
Oh, maybe it is cheaper in Melbourne. That's crazy if they can detect that. I doubt it, though.
Oh. Well, wow, how can they possibly detect your
I did-
address when you put your address in to figure
I
out where
did
you
log-
live to figure out if it could
No,
be
he said
cheaper
it's
or
free
not?
when he added it.
I did log into my account before I added into my cart. so
Oh,
that
you know
would
it's sold
my
out again,
address.
by the way. Shit. That's crazy.
Shame.
People really want
Alright.
to have those controllers.
This is my favorite part of the show because we can just talk.
Yeah, this is the same Mike that forces him to weigh on a video games podcast. He doesn't like video games.
Hey, to Mike's credit, he's played a lot of games recently. so-
Mike,
I-
buy this game.
Played a lot of games.
So when you buy this game, Cadence
No,
of Hyrule, it's awesome.
I'm not a sucker for pain.
This game is like
Actually, no, that's not pain.
it's super underrated.
It's fun.
It's
Yeah.
unbelievable how underrated this is. Swinny,
How
I
much is it?
I actually recommend you could buy this for like $30 used, like physical
That's pretty
copy.
good. Okay, that's pretty good.
I think this will be worth like $150 in the future.
How about I play this game instead? Duke Nukem Forever.
No, that's the 2001 version.
Why do you have
Together!
that next to you? Why is it right next to
He
you?
always has it. He always has it.
Because
man.
I've got a table here with random shit that I might have for the show, and
Yeah.
we did a whole feature on bloody Duke Nukem.
He's
so-
forgotten. He's forgotten.
Like the
Okay.
hats. I've got the hat here. For
All
Duke
right, I don't
Nukem
know why
Forever
we're
as well.
carrying on. All right, yes, State of Play. Check us out. We'll get us on YouTube. You know, you'll see the little notification. Ring that bell. Then you'll see when we start live streaming, 8 a.m. I think we're probably going to do it, Swinny.
Please subscribe
minutes.
if you're hearing this nonsense, or don't. Maybe
You put your
please
mask
do.
back on, all right? All right, well, with that,
That's so awkward. That's so awkward. Just dead air. Thank
all
you,
right.
Mike.
All right. So, can you write goodbye on there?
No, it'll take too long. I mean, unless you guys want to stay for another minute.
No.
All right,
Next
bye-bye.
week. Adios.